perfect, and I know that's impossible.
It's the first thing that got caught on live. Anyways, welcome everybody. This is Edwin and Mike, as always, just us two, on the H-Town Hometown podcast. Miguelito Jose is running a little late. He'll be here at 8:30, according to him.
And he's called Miguelito because he's actually my son. And he's little Michael, but in honor
Little
of his
Michael.
culture, I was like, I will name you Miguel instead
Yeah.
of Michael because I'm considerate of other people's cultures.
Yeah. Very considerate Michael over here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Spinal.
So, it's spinal.
Spinal.
So yeah.
Let me sit up.
It's okay.
Hey, give me that. That's my coffee.
We got Michael on his couch today. He's trying to be a little comfy instead of being it.
Dude, I got a chase. I'm laying across my chase right now. I actually not wearing pants, and that's why it's perfectly cut off right at the belly button.
There it is. So yeah, I guess without going too far into what we're going to talk about tonight. I kind of wanted to keep it generic, and it's kind of we're going to talk about awareness. And I know that's very broad, but you know we're going to talk about awareness that people should always take, and you know who to reach out to and how to ask for help. I'll dive into that a little bit later as we have the full crew, but like I said. For now, you know, I just ate. Mike, what are you doing? Or what did you just do?
You know what? So yesterday for Cinco de Mayo, I celebrated by eating Colombian food.
Yeah.
And I made chorizo tacos today.
You made chorizo tacos.
Not chorizo, chorizo.
I know. I said chorizo.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Can we talk about cultural appropriation a little bit? A lighthearted discussion about it, nothing too serious.
That's fine.
A real conversation, as Jose will say.
Yeah.
Why do people think that? Why do people think they own their culture? You think
their culture?
Yeah. So like they're like, for instance, and I'll just use Italian people because I'm an Italian American, so our culture is different but similar. They will get mad at like pineapples on pizza, for instance, because you're doing something to their food, you know? Like why this is my culture. My culture is not for you to have fun with or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But like my perspective, and I think it's because I'm an American and I'm mixed ethnicities technically, because Europeans are different from each other.
Yep.
The culture you bring, your culture shares, and we're a melting pot, and with all the good aspects of your culture should be the ones that are forming into the American culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like to say music, for instance, right? I'm just going to generalize and say all good music is a result of Africans.
Okay.
And that's any genre. That's country music. That's rock and roll. That's salsa. That's all the Latin music, R&B, hip hop, pop music.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for African culture,
those
musics would be. Their culture was appropriated by other people in their countries, and they made a genre of music off of it. Right?
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Yeah,
especially with the Latin American, especially with the Latin American music. How the fact we use like bongos. Yeah, but even then, like Latin American music, how we use bongos and things like that.
Yeah, bongo, just the rhythm.
The rhythm.
Dembo.
That's
a guy who's like pretty much the special ingredient for reggaeton, right? Let me move this off of my face so you can see me.
Something like that. Yes.
But how much would it like imagine, right? You're only allowed. You live in a world where if you're not doing something that was part of your culture, you're culturally appropriating. So you're not allowed to wear clothing or jewelry or listen to music that you're not a direct descendant from, right?
Yeah.
So now you're stuck listening to like salsa music and reggaeton, right? But
Mhm.
can you even listen to reggaeton like you because you're a whiter Puerto Rican? You know, you're not as
Yes, I
was
can
it
listen to reggaeton.
J Balvin was like I like reggaeton. I when I saw Daddy Yankee, it made me know I can do reggaeton because I saw another white guy doing it. He got in trouble for saying that, right? Did you hear that?
No,
Oh, dude,
I didn't.
that was it's a little tangent, but that was crazy to me. Like J Balvin, being Colombian, being Latino, any other
Yeah,
conversation held about Latinos the last 5 years
because he was a
was
lighter skinned guy, so he
yeah,
saw another lighter skinned guy.
well, yeah, no,
Get,
well, not even that. The Latino people or Latin people for the last 5 years have been doing this narrative that they're children of the diaspora, no matter what their skin tone is. Like you say, like I'm African because Puerto Rican culture has African in it, right?
yeah,
So but then Jay Bolvin says that, and everyone's like, "Whoa, you're taking away from the Afro Latinos."
hmm.
So it's like a weird thing. Like it's like cannibalizing itself. Like, oh, like if you're gonna call yourself Latino and Latino or Latin or whatever they want to be called, Latinx, Hispanic,
I don't
stop
call
the.
it.
Yeah, it doesn't phonetically make any sense. Grammatically,
Nice.
it doesn't make any sense.
It does not.
Yeah, but it was probably invented by white people like me. They're probably
Probably they started calling us Latinxes, and then
no.
they're like,
This is what
oh,
happened, right? I'm going to tell you the story. It was actually me. I invented it. I was taking a test with Mrs. Sacco, right? And I had to figure out the pronouns, but I just couldn't figure out the pronouns. It was like one of those
bitch for
words that
Lex.
starts with an L and ends with an A. You know, not like you know how there's some like they start with the la and then they end with the word ends with an O. Like those
Yeah,
weird ones. It was
yeah.
one of those ones, and I just couldn't figure it out. And I just put an X there. And Mrs. Sacco was like, "Why'd you do that?" And I'm like, "Are you just assuming it's gender now, Mr. Sacco? Even though this movement started like 6 years after I graduated high school, you're assuming the gender of this." So I started it. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. But it caught on with the other younger generations.
It probably
That's how I
was
imagine it.
similar to that. It was probably similar to that.
But
They
anyways,
were just like instead of to genderify, you know, Latinos and Latinas, they just said Latinx.
when you can just say Latin,
Yeah, I know.
like you could just say Latin, but then they're like, "Oh, we're not Latin people." Like
Well,
I
Latin
never,
is a language. It's not
yeah.
a
So is Spanish,
true. That's why
yeah,
we say we're Latino.
yeah. But Latin was a language, but you never see like it's never like the Latino music awards or the Latina music awards. It's always the Latin music
The Latin
awards
music. Yeah, I
or the
know.
yeah
That's
the best Latin performing artist because it or
true.
Latin American. And this is just from English, like English standpoint. Like we don't refer to y'all as Latinos or Latinas. We refer y'all to as
You guys
Latin
are
Americans. Yeah.
Latins. Yeah, no, I know.
And me
Huh.
personally, I refer to you as fake Italians, but that's something different
Big
because
Italians.
you're not Latin. You're
We're
not
all
from the center of
European.
Italy. No, it's just like I have a personal problem with that because y'all aren't from where the Latin people are from. Like you're like
Well, we're from the Caribbean.
you're like third generation, third degree. You're removed from Latin in like 3 degrees, right? You're removed from Spain, and Spain's removed from Italy after the Roman Empire, right?
Yeah.
So like you're third degree removed from it. But yeah,
True.
like think like back to the cultural appropriation thing, like right. I think it should be more, especially in like the United States, Canada, pretty much all of the Americas. Like we're a bunch of countries that just take in a bunch of people from different countries, and pretty much people just keep what they like, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So like tacos, for instance, tacos al pastor are
Yeah.
actually shawarma. You know what shawarma is?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
made I made
they
shawarma the
literally
other day.
yeah they literally came from shawarma.
I
Like
made
Lebanese
shawarma.
people, immigrated to Mexico and they made tacos al pastor, right? They made their own thing from it, right?
Yeah.
But like an American company makes a taco, like they go to Mexico, they get inspired to make a taco type food, and they make Taco Bell, and now that's
Yep.
somehow wrong, even though they're copying something that was copied from another country, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Like this, it's like always that's always
it's
been weird to me.
it's so shawarma though. Like, so if you make real shawarma, shawarma doesn't have like cilantro and
Well, yeah,
and,
because
like,
they put
they just put
you put the ingredients you have on it. That's what makes it a part of that culture.
yeah. Well,
It's-
so like for instance, like I make chicken shawarma and like
Did you have
the
did you have a
chicken shawarma.
rotisserie?
Huh? I
You
didn't
have a
do
ro-
it in the oven like that. I didn't do it in the oven like that.
I wanna-
I
I
know
wanna
that's
get a
generally
rotisserie.
how you do it. And then what you do is you smoke the meat after, using like a charcoal.
And then you
But
cut it off and put it on the pita
Yep.
bread.
yeah, so that's how I do it though. I make like the chicken, I saute it and then I put it in the pita bread with the sauce, which is like a yogurt, mayo, and garlic sauce, and then you add pickles to it.
You know,
That's
I don't.
shawarma. It's chicken shawarma.
Well, yeah, I mean it's something. I don't know if it's chicken shawarma, but it's based off of
Yeah.
chicken shawarma.
Yeah.
But like,
Whereas like tacos is like, depending on your meat or fish that you're going to use, and then it's cilantro with onions, or if you're going to add frijoles on the side or something like
yeah,
that.
but what I'm saying is, so when the Lebanese people who brought shawarma over to Mexico when they migrated there, it transformed into tacos al pastor, which is the pork on the rotisserie that they shave off onto the tortilla,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because they don't eat pork in the Middle East; they eat lamb, so it would have been lamb. But they're using pork because they're in Mexico, right? And then the American guy who makes it, he makes it with like ground beef.
yeah,
Yeah. So what was I saying? Like they did like American things. Like we put lettuce and cheese on everything, right? Every sandwich
Yeah.
has lettuce and cheese on it, right?
and that's why
So
there's
you-
American tacos.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But like there is not majority of people don't care, and there's a group of I'm going to call them Latinx because that's the type of person they are. You know, I'm going to use that as derogatory, as bad as that sounds, but like Latinx, you know, the type who would get upset about something like that for no reason. That really doesn't affect them. They'll say it's like
Yeah.
cultural appropriation. You're taking something from that might not even be their country. It might be someone like they see like they're classified with country and
Yeah,
say that you're doing something to it, and that's not what it is, right?
yeah,
When the American guy is copying the Mexican guy who copied the Lebanese guy, who probably copied the Babylonian guy, you know.
yep,
And it seems like
sense.
we're at the point now, especially with social media, that everyone is so defensive and they think they own their culture, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
and it's gonna get to the point where like everything's gonna become very vanilla because no one's going
think-
to like try
I
to
think-
adapt or integrate.
Yeah. I think it becomes more of this though, Mike. People get annoyed when they see, as to say, an American white person who adopts the cultural cuisine of another area that they're not from, and then they profit off of them. And like, for instance, you see it all the time. That like if you drive up to Maine and like New Hampshire and stuff like that, there's American-owned, authentic Mexican restaurants, but the only Mexican people working there are the like chefs and the servers. But it's an American-owned, authentic Mexican restaurant. And I'll put.
Well, I was
quotation-
just using the tacos as an example.
But you know, it's like you see it everywhere. There, like you
Well,
see,
yeah, I know,
you see
but like, I was just using
American-owned
it.
Japanese and Chinese restaurants.
First of all, Chinese food in America is not even Chinese food.
I know, but what I'm trying to say
Yeah.
is that like you can find Asian cuisine restaurants that aren't actually owned by Asian.
Well,
At all,
why do they
or
have
Asian
to be
Americans.
owned by that race particular?
I'm not saying it has
Yeah,
to. What I'm
that's
saying
what I'm
is
saying. Like that's
how
my
you were
point
saying,
is.
how you were saying people get defensive, and I think that's one of the big examples right there. It's when they profit, or like American or white Caucasian people profit off of something that they're not even from. Yeah, you may have studied the cuisine or you may be
But like what it comes is that's not their cuisine.
yeah,
You didn't it's not like Edwin invented the sandwich and Mike saw it. He made this Puerto Rican inspired sandwich because like took it directly from you.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
It's something that is just kind of passed along. Like people eat what their parents prepared for them,
yeah.
and the parents are making like stuff they either had at a friend's house or what their parents made, try to imitate at a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
But at
Yeah,
the
but I
end of
mean, you can
at
say
the
the
end of the
same
day,
about
every single thing came from another place. All
yeah,
these cultures, especially in the Americas, are no older than 500 years old.
exactly. But what I'm trying to tell you though, Mike, is like when to your example, people shouldn't get angry or they shouldn't claim a culture that isn't theirs. But that's when people get annoyed. Is when you see someone that is not from that culture at all, and
Well,
they're profiting off of that
I know
food,
that, I know
and
that.
they're
Like with the
basically
Kardashians with black culture, that makes sense.
well,
Because like
yeah,
Kim Kardashian braids her hair, you on the cover of Vogue. A little girl braids her hair, and they're telling her to take it off, or you can't come into the school. That's wrong. Like
yeah,
mine's more of like accepting
yeah,
other cultures and integrating other cultures, sharing, like
yeah.
cooking, like like imagine how much better Puerto Rican food would be if they just didn't use sazon and use like actual ingredients.
Well, there's a lot of us that actually don't.
Just kidding. I'm just
There's a
messing with
lot of
you.
us that don't use sazon, and we
Yo,
do use real spices like cumin and cayenne and paprika and
yeah.
things like that.
And guess where all the
Um,
spices came from? India.
mhm.
See? You see Indian people are like, oh my God, you took my spices. How can you, you Puerto Ricans?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like it's what I'm trying to tell you is this: is people get annoyed when a Caucasian American or white person, they don't have to be from America, opens up a restaurant or they profit off of a restaurant or food that they have no business or have nothing to do with. Yeah, maybe they studied abroad and they liked it, they wanted to bring it back. I understand that, but that's when people get annoyed. It's why are they profiting off of something that they're calling it authentic when there's no authenticity about it. You're not from that country or that ethnicity. You understand? That's when people get annoyed. But to your point, their cultural cuisine is copied through many countries and many ethnicities.
You
You
know,
know what I
I
mean?
got
Like all of us eat rice. Americans eat rice too. It's terrible because they just boil it. But
yo,
like
my wife hates
we
Chinese rice, like the white
really.
Chinese rice. She
Oh yeah,
hates
no
it.
one likes that. This
Yeah,
is
I
boiled.
love it. I love it. Like with because you put the sauce on it, and then it gets all the flavor from the sauces, like Joe Nogao's chicken.
Yeah, I'd rather not.
Even African rice, like unless it's like jollof, it's just boiled
Jollof.
rice.
Oh,
But
jollof
like
rice.
when I would go to Terrence's house and I would have rice, right? It was just boiled white rice.
And El Padre's home.
Hi, son.
You're muted.
But
I think.
okay. Now to your point about people getting mad at Americans making
So
culturally
so I
inauthentic
so
food.
not just Americans. I'm saying Caucasian or
Well,
white.
what it comes down to is Americans get the most slack because we're like the most culturally outsourced country in the world. We're in
Yeah,
all the
that's why.
media, all the television, and all that,
It's
whatever.
because Americans, if you think about it, Americans come there. There's no such thing as an American. It's a bunch
no
of
such-
countries. Huh?
There's no such thing as an American. There
There
really
is no
isn't.
such
Like,
thing. There's no such
I
thing
mean,
as American.
oh,
Everyone came. No. Everyone
I'm gonna
came.
say this,
like
right?
You said,
I can't.
your
I don't
ancestor
have.
came either from Europe, from Asian America, Latin America, South America. Like, did I say
Well,
Asian America? I didn't mean to say.
yeah, but
South
anyways,
America, or like, there's no such thing as an American.
well, technically,
There's
there's
no
only
such
one
thing.
American here, and it's Jose because his ancestors have been here the longest, right? He probably has
What
like
the native?
yeah, he probably
The
has like the
natives?
tiniest bit of European ancestry, probably like
Why? Because
if
he's
that.
brown.
My dude, I went. He looks like Squanto,
He looks like Squanto.
right? Like, but anyways,
His
like
great ancestor was Sacagawea.
like you have the benefit of coming from Puerto Rico, right?
Mhm.
But the same thing can be said about Puerto Ricans. Like you guys aren't anything. You're a mix of a bunch of different people on that island. But because you came from,
no, because there's Tainos that were originated on that island.
bro, the Tainos were wiped out.
I understand you, but
Like
it
right
doesn't
after
matter. Through the lineage, through
right
lineage,
after.
there's still Taino in my blood because of
Yeah, but that's still
it's
like
very
what
very
percentage?
fainted out.
Exactly.
0.5%, but still.
Okay, so I have more Native American ancestry than you.
Okay, I'm just
That's what I'm saying, but
giving
like
you a figure.
no, but
it's probably really like 10%.
Again, I have more Native American ancestry than you. But
I
what I'm
understand
saying,
you.
but what I'm saying is,
I'm not saying you though, Michael.
no,
you
this
are not
this,
American.
But this is what I'm saying is, if you came from Puerto Rico to the United States, so you can say you're Puerto Rican because that's the country you came from. If I moved to Canada, the only country I came from is the United States, so I'd be an American, right? I can't go to like Germany or Italy or England or Spain or any of these countries in Europe and be like, hey, I'm this. I can say here in the United States because that's my ethnic makeup, but what it comes down to is I don't have any other place to be except for here.
Yeah. But Mike, I think you're taking it out of context. What I'm trying to tell you is there's no such thing as an American because everyone has come from other places.
Okay, but you can say that about any. You can say that about any country besides Africa.
Italian.
You can say that about any country besides Africa. Because if Africa is where people came from, then everyone came from there and then spread out.
True.
Okay, so at what point are you like, this is the people from this land? At what point do you say that? Like, at what point are you like, okay, these people lived here for so and so years. This is what they are.
I understand you, Mike. But what I'm trying to tell you is the reason why Americans get a bad name in other countries is because they're like, I'm an American. Well, technically, you're actually not from America.
Okay, so what are you? What are you then?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm obviously made up of European, African, and
but someone asked you,
Native.
What are you?
I'm Puerto Rican.
There's no such thing as Puerto Rican. You came from Europe and Africa.
Well, no, there's Puerto Rico.
Okay, there's the United States.
Yeah, it's not called America.
United States of America.
Okay, the same thing can be said in South America.
Mexicanos.
But the same thing can be said about South America, right? Central America.
Hey, what are Mexicans called?
My point is what
Estados Unidos Mexicanos is the name of the country.
No, that's not what they call themselves.
It is the name of the country.
So, Jose, if someone's from South America, they don't say I'm South American. They say where they're from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't say I'm North American. I say I'm American.
Exactly. No, but that's what I'm trying to say is like someone from Central America or South America will say, I am Brazilian or I am Mexican. I am not South American. But when you ask an American or someone from the United States,
it's the name of the country.
It's not. It's United States of America.
Okay, and Mexico's called the Estados Unidos Mexicanos, and they're Mexicans.
No, so
we're the only country that
grammatically, and you should be calling yourself
Google right now
US
before
citizens.
You look dumb. Google right now what
you should call yourself U.S. citizens. Mexico?
Really? What is the official name of Mexico? It's Estados Unidos Mexicanos. It's the United Mexican States. It's the name of Mexico. They call themselves Mexicans. Brazil is the Federal Republic of Brazil. They call themselves Brazilian. Dominican Republic is the Dominican Republic. They don't call themselves Republicans. They call themselves Dominicans. So why is it the United States we can't say we're Americans? The rest of the world gets their panties in a bunch. It doesn't make any sense. It's only us that has this, right?
I know.
Like even British people, English people are in England. They can say they're English. They can say they're British. No one cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
They live in the British Isles.
It's because the United States gets a bad rap.
It's because you're all a bunch of haters.
No.
Yo, you know the people I hear this conversation from mostly is Canadians and Brazilians. They're like, I'm American too. I live in North America. I'm American too. I live in South America, but you're South American and North American.
Yo, you just lagged there for a second.
Oh. But you know what I'm saying? Like we're the only country that has to like say we're the only country that has to like walk on our tiptoes to make other people feel better about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's creating that creates a lot of resentment to a certain demographic in this country.
Yeah.
That brings in a lot of nationalism, which can lead to a lot of bad things.
Like I told you,
it kind of leads into our discussion.
The United States of America gets a bad rap. outside of the United States is what I'm trying to tell
Bro,
you.
it's always crazy to me, right? All these European countries look down on the United States of America when they've done far worse throughout the world. Like the Middle East, Africa, Latin America is pretty much single-handedly from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
China, Southeast Asia, South Asia, like Europe just completely like obliterated the whole world, and pretty much the only parts of the world that succeeded were the ones that most of the colonies were of European descent, like South Africa,
Yeah.
not South Africa, United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, right?
Yep.
But somehow, I think it's because of just our place in the world. Is this United States gets this rap that like we're the ones who like completely made the world the way it is when we pretty much inherited it from the British and the French. Like the Middle East is British and French. Africa, the way it is now, is the British, French, and Portuguese, and the Germans. Central America is kind of the United States meddling with communism. But like we get the rap that like we're the ones who like pretty much made the world it is now when we're just pretty much reacting to what the world is to our advantage.
Yep. I hear you. I understand what you're putting down.
And also Puerto Rican is not a thing. Like
we come from many different areas. I told you that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was originally a Native Americans, you can call it, or Native people, not even Native Americans.
The Caribs.
Native people that were called the Taínos.
Yeah.
And I don't like to call them Indians because that's what they're known as in the history books is the Taíno Indians. I don't like to say that because it's like how Americans used to call Native Americans Indians for the longest time.
No, Indians call themselves Indians. Like
I'm saying, you know how, like, do you remember? I remember this clear as day. I remember back in like third and second grade.
It used to say
Indians. It used to say Indians in the
they say
textbooks.
Native Americans,
and then they changed it to yeah.
And then now it's turning into First Nations, but none of them say what they actually are. They're not saying like the Taino. They're not saying the Carib people.
I wonder what they were known as, right? Like we can only really go as far as like what the English and the British knew them as. They called them Indians, but like, what were they really named?
They like Massachusetts, Wampanoags, Algonquin. I mean,
yeah.
You see,
but that's from the tribe of the area that they were from. But like, what do you think they call? What like it'd be interesting to go back in a time machine and figure out like what do you call yourselves?
They'll probably be like, "Who the hell are you?" And I don't speak your language.
Yeah, I know. And then they throw a freaking poisonous dart at me or something.
No, they'll probably start coughing and die from whatever our modern diseases are.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Like,
send someone back with corona.
You know, there's actually. We don't need to talk about Indians anymore or Native Americans.
That's
people.
Okay. Right? Well, Jose finally joined El Padre over here.
What's up, everybody? I'm just having fun listening to you guys.
Yeah, well, you know, Mike and I have these discussions, and it's
you know how this discussion started, Jose? I was saying that let's talk about cultural appropriation and like how people should just be more open to embracing other cultures and letting people embrace other cultures. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's just gonna make new cultures. And we started talking about Americans, like always.
Yeah.
No, we started talking about. No, we went into that people get annoyed when they try to claim cultures that's not theirs, and then we went into Americans because, unfortunately, outside of the United States, that's what people see Americans as people that try to claim cultures that aren't theirs.
But isn't that what America is, though?
Here's what I'm saying: we're a melting pot. You come bring cultures in, and it turns into a melting pot. Canada is like the opposite. Canada is like more sectioned off. Like you come here and you're still Pakistani, and you have your Pakistani neighborhood, your Pakistani cultures.
Yeah.
So if you want to like really good ethnic food, you should go to Canada because they have more close roots. The United States of America, or the United States, or whatever. We should just come up with a new name for our country.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So
Or just change the name of the continent.
Yeah.
what else were we gonna talk about today?
Oh yeah, so I had originally mentioned, just kind of talk about awareness a little bit, and I know that's kind of generic and broad, but basically just spreading a word and awareness that everyone should take and that they should have, especially with events that are going around the world and even locally and things like that. It's just just talk about that a little bit and. I'll since you just joined, I'll let you start.
Well, no, actually, I was gonna let you guys start.
We
No, no,
already
no.
started.
Yeah, it's been a half an hour we've been talking. I need to
Yeah,
drink some
but no,
water.
in regards to the topics though, because I think you guys had specific conversations you guys wanted to have.
No, so I wanted to make it generic. I know that we were gonna bring someone on and which is Mike's wife, but I don't wanna pressure anyone on, especially.
It's so complicated, and she's been having discussions with her
No, I
friends,
know exactly.
and they
It's
just been getting
especially
heated because
yeah.
like
Yo,
I
so
can do like a quick synopsis of what I've been told by like 3 different people.
well, listen
you-
to this, right? Like I've been hearing about the is it Colombia? I think I've been
Yeah.
here. I've been
Yeah,
seeing it. I haven't been hearing. I've been seeing
yeah.
everywhere on the feed of the social media and stuff. But if you want me to be honest with you, I've been super busy just kind of living life, like real life here with everything going on. So like I'm not really too like I don't know really what's going on. Um
Yeah, like you haven't
Um,
been engaged
yeah,
enough
so
so I
to.
was so like to be
so,
honest, I don't really know what's going on.
well, I can give
Um
Yeah,
you a
and
quick, unbiased synopsis of what is going on as a third person just watching it
before you
unfold.
before you do that, all I wanted to say is I've been chatting with Mike about it, but I also haven't been going too deep into it because, as you know, the saying goes, especially when you hear news around the world, is we don't really like being told one thing, but it could be completely opposite
Well,
mm,
in the actual country. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
before
there could
I
be
say that, right? My
yeah,
wife said something to me when she came home for dinner. She said that she's like now she realized why people think like Colombia is all like violence, violence, violence because that's
yeah,
what they're seeing on the news. She's talking to her parents, and it's like it's not that. It's
no,
not really that. And also, I would like to bring the parallel of what was going on in the United States in the summer during the protests. All over the news, we saw the cities burning, but like you
yep.
go around and that's not happening.
And
mm,
that's exactly why I didn't assume.
That's
That's why I was
exactly yeah.
asking. Yep, that's why I was asking Mike,
Yeah.
like, what are your thoughts? Or like, since I know his wife is Colombian, I was like,
So,
oh, like, what is she hearing? Because I don't want to jump and assume things, especially that very reason.
yeah.
Because you hear things on the media and they only show you the worst. They don't show you what's really happening.
So what's happening is, as I get into it, the president wanted to implement a new tax, right?
Mhm.
The people are protesting that tax, right? The protests, as they often do throughout the world, turn violent. Um, Trying to be as biased as possible. You know, it's a developing country. You know how governments in developing countries are. There, they can suppress it any way they really want. You know,
Mhm.
unfortunately for them, there's cameras now. Um, but also the same thing that was going on in the United States during the Black Lives Matter protests. You have bad faith actors in the protests creating violence, starting fires. So there's been
So there's been
videos.
like
Yeah,
guerrilla.
yeah. I don't want to say that because I don't want to put those negative words out. But yeah,
Yeah,
um,
but
there's been talk of like Venezuela and guerrillas. I'm not in Colombia. I'm not at the protest. I don't know. I know that anytime there is a protest, people will have bad faith actors in there to take away of take away from the actual protests. But there's been videos circulating of like the police just like opening fires in crowds. I seen another video of someone lighting a cop on fire, you know, or whatever the
Mhm.
equivalent to it is.
oh
So
wow.
right now it's just like both
Yeah.
sides of it, the people who are like for one side and for the other sides, they're not trying to see any other side or any other thing right now. And it's you have bad people in both who are making it worse.
Yeah. So when I
And
was reading up on it, it sounds like there's no common ground being found. And like you
none.
said, there's people or there's
So
bad
so
actors from both sides that
and I want
are
to say this: the
yeah.
president stopped the tax, right? So the main reason of the protests or what they're saying is for the tax increase. I'm pretty sure the president of Colombia just is like, we're not going to do this. People don't want it or whatever. So
So he
that
gave
that
what the people really wanted when they were
yeah,
originally
but at this
protesting.
point, like with the government's response to turning, I think it's turning away from the taxing to
Yep.
how the government responded, and people are using that, especially in a country where you have pretty
Yeah.
much sections that are controlled by people who aren't in the government.
Yep.
Guerrillas, cartels are using that as an advantage to have their political way, because if they
Mhm.
can get the government to look bad, then they can come in and be the saviors.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just it's literally like it can lead to like really, really bad things.
Gotcha.
And that's kind of what we might take for advantage, like living in the United States with our government, even if we don't like it,
Mhm.
it's very stable, right?
Yeah.
Even without
Yeah.
like the police brutality and the discrimination, we live in a pretty peaceful country. There's some sections that aren't, and even like a lot of stuff people get outraged about are minor inconveniences. And like,
Yeah.
but besides like Washington D.C. during the in January, we have like
Oh, when they stormed the Capitol.
when they stormed the Capitol, but like
Yeah.
that was pretty much handled instantly. Like,
Yeah, and you look at it the way that the government in the United States handled it, whereas a lot of
it
other countries you could have
wouldn't.
seen a lot of bloodshed.
Yeah, and even like
You would have seen a lot
think
of
of when that
bloodshed.
happened. There was a lot of people who in the United States who are like anti like government authority at that point in
Yeah.
time. Were like, why didn't they open fire, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to think of this. Now you're in a country that's not as stable as the United States. It's not as rich as the United States.
Yep.
The government's not as trusted as much as the United States government. And there's literally terrorists, narcos, there's
Yeah.
militias that are just waiting for a moment to take over the government.
Hmm.
So, like, it's just pretty much a powder keg.
And
Hey,
And
and
like,
can I ask what the tax was on?
um, like groceries, there was like
yeah, I think it was
a
food. It was a
funeral
food tax,
tax.
wasn't it?
But also from what my wife was saying, or from what, because she was kind of getting like emotional, so her
Because she has
wording was
family
all
over
over
there,
the
right?
place. Yeah, she was saying that the people protesting on the left is what she says. They don't want the taxes, but they want like all the benefits that you would get with higher taxes, like better health care, better education that's like state run, more like infrastructure. But
Yeah.
they don't have the money to be taxed for that. So now they want all these things, but they don't want to pay for it pretty much. From what I
Yeah.
understood. Like I could be completely wrong. I'm a third
Well, it
person
looks
from
like to me too. Like I was reading that the tax they did take away the tax reform, or they stopped that tax reform,
yeah.
but it looks like the protest continued, and it's kind of like now who is the people that are continuing to protest? Is the people that were originally in that
Exactly.
were protesting the reform, or are they just continuing on due to the violence and the bloodshed?
So I can only use my American perspective with this. I'm pretty sure there's still like protests or whatever going on in Portland, Oregon right now, if that carried over from
Yeah,
the summer, right? So
yeah.
like I look at it like, what are they protesting, right?
So
Are they actually protesting what the original protest is for, or are there people just who are just fed up for like, because 2020 was a rough year for like everyone on the planet. I
yeah,
imagine living in a country that's not like equipped to handle a pandemic like this. I don't know how Colombia is. I know people have gone
yeah,
back and forth from it, so it can't be that bad. But at the same time, um, economically probably devastated. Now they're all fed up because of that, and like it could be just anger boiling over from the tax reform, and now seeing how the protests were handled, and now they're boiling over from that. So it's just like it's a terrible situation because there's really the only way it could really end is if I can't even see like how you because if they can't if they stop the reason they're protesting, right? You think in theory the government would be more lax, but the people who are protesting, they have the bad faith actors in there destroying property. So the government has to do something about that, and it's just creating a cycle, like a circle of like of reactions. And there's just no understanding at all, as you said earlier. You know?
Yeah. I know, I agree, and I guess
It's like
so. I
Arab
can tell you
Spring.
from what I've. Yeah.
Remember Arab Spring in like 2011? All these Arab countries started revolting. Arab Spring, right? Egypt had a
That was
revolution.
so long ago.
Egypt had the revolution. Libya had their revolution. Like I think Algeria too, maybe. Then it was Syria was like up at next, and like the way it was handled was just fueled by like a bunch of rebel groups, and then the government was like going against them, and it just kind of collapsed the whole country. Not saying that it's going to get to that level, but it's at a point where no one is really suppressed. No one is willing to compromise, you know, and like
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, for a civilization or society, you need compromises to keep the wheels turning. Even if everyone gets screwed a little bit, it's better off for everyone as a whole, you know?
Yeah. I think it also depends on like what the cause and the fight that you're protesting for as well. Like I can tell you that I've been keeping up with a lot of the protests that are so like, for instance, the protests that were happening back in June of last year, you know, obviously due to the Black Lives Matter and to the George Floyd issues. But there was also around the country, like Portland, Oregon, was a different case that altogether, like, what happened in near Green Bay? What's it, Wisconsin, right? Wisconsin,
Minnesota?
Minnesota? No, there was
No, Green Bay's Wisconsin. That's where the Packers
no,
are.
yeah, I know it's in Wisconsin though. It's not Green Bay though. It's the other
Milwaukee.
city.
Milwaukee.
No, it wasn't Milwaukee. I forget what it's called. I forget.
Was it Milwaukee when they had
where the kid opened fire? Where the kid opened fire, he drove up from a different state, and he drove up. It was in Wisconsin. I just don't remember what city was called.
I don't really care.
But like they're still protesting that. Like they're still protesting that even to this day, and I don't disagree with the protest because I feel that there hasn't been justice provided.
I just don't like. At the end of the day,
but at the end of the day, like if you believe in that cause or you believe in that protest, and that's what you believe in. But look at it like this: ever since it happened, it's almost been. Well, what I was going to say is, it's almost been a year, and you haven't seen violence and blood. They're still protesting peacefully. So, as you said, when there's a protest, there's both sides, bad actors on each side, and they're only there for the beginning. So the people that are really protesting, whatever they're protesting, it's usually not violence. It's not bloodshed. It's not like, you know what I mean? And the reason why I said I wanted to bring this up tonight for awareness is it's for us that live in the United States, as Mike said, where we have a pretty good government. A safe government, but it's also for all of you to, for all of us to be aware of what's happening outside of the United States. And you know what I mean? Like basically taking a second and realizing that your neighbor may be impacted by this because they have family that's over there. You know what I mean? Or maybe your neighbor is someone that left Colombia for a reason. And obviously it's not this protest, but you know, in third world countries, there's always issues going on, and that's why they come here to the United States. So maybe it's a little bit of awareness to understand other people's shoes and to not judge. And that's the whole reason why I wanted to bring it up today, is for a certain awareness. And you know what I mean? Like, even though it has nothing to do with our country, it's just be aware.
Well, it does indirectly because
Yeah.
another thing is they're saying like Venezuela might be putting people in the protests to create the violence because the FARC is communist. It's one of the guerrilla groups. Venezuela is obvious communist. So if they can do that,
Yeah.
the United States and Colombia are allies. So, and the United States would probably want nothing more to have a reason to invade Venezuela, right? There has been, my wife said, like a Russian helicopter that was shot down in Colombia. So, like, it's going to affect the United States.
Like recently, you mean?
Yeah,
Like within with what?
So
like
it
the
indirectly,
last couple months. So it's not going to indirectly. It's going to directly affect us because Venezuela is the largest oil producer on the planet, right? The United States government has been wanting to put a government in place in Venezuela since they became socialist.
Yeah.
They can use this as a reasoning to go
and invade. Yeah.
Right. So it will it could possibly affect us if that's how it plays out. That's why I'm saying it's kind of like
if you look at most of the wars, that we insert ourselves into, it has nothing to do with us in the beginning indirectly, but it's because we always insert ourselves.
Well, we have an alliance with Colombia, though. Like that's
it's always that we have an alliance with that country, but it's always
because we didn't have an alliance with Iraq and we didn't have an alliance with Afghanistan. Those were like they blamed the Taliban for attacking us on 9/11. We went to war with Afghanistan, and then they declared the war on terror, and Saddam was a terrorist state, so we went there. But like we are allies with Colombia, so if Colombia declares war,
and Colombia, you mean
what? We are allies with them.
Yeah.
So if Colombia,
if Colombia went to war,
Venezuela, I'm not saying this is going to happen.
Yeah, but
we want a pro-United States government in Venezuela.
I understand that, but the thing is, the United States would stick their neck in there because there's something that they want from Venezuela, and you just
we have even more. Yeah, but we have more reasoning, is what I'm saying. It's
exactly,
not like the Middle East.
We don't have to. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, we don't have to stick our necks into something that has indirectly nothing to do with us.
Yeah, well, we have reasoning to do it, is what I'm saying. Like, we've done it. We invaded Iraq because pretty much no reason at all, right?
I know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like,
but what I'm saying
we invade stuff for no reason.
But what I'm saying is, this is an ally of the United States, right? This is pretty much the United States stronghold in South America, is Colombia, right? That's probably the closest American ally.
If they lose Colombia,
in South America, right?
Yeah.
So, with all the work, and I wouldn't put it past the Colombian government to ask the United States for assistance with all the assistance the Colombian government gave the United States during the war on drugs. So, I'm not saying that we should or it's going to happen, but it is a scenario that could play out, maybe like a 1% chance, because if FARC is implementing people or putting people in these protests to attack the government, right? And FARC is like the leader of FARC is living in Venezuela and like friends with the Venezuelan president. The United States wants a pro-American government in Venezuela because of oil, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really like kind of like not directly an American issue, but a little bit past indirectly, you know what I'm saying? Because it shouldn't be, right? It's not really our problem, but the way our government works is especially like if there is a lot of pressure from Colombian Americans to intervene in Colombia, because they are doing protests in major American cities. Colombians are too.
Yeah.
This is the problem of how intertwined everything is. So it's literally like it could be really, really bad, or it could kind of just fizzle out, and you know, the fire could be
Okay.
really hot in the beginning and just kind of die off, or it can keep going and get worse. It
Mhm.
kind of, to me, probably depends on how COVID is. If they can like get their economy going again, I'm sure as much people won't be protesting, because a lot of the protests are because they don't have enough money and they didn't want to pay taxes because they
Yeah.
weren't making enough money anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's this
But even
was
then,
like,
like you said, the tax reform was canceled. It was
yeah, but now because the way the tax reform protest was handled, now they're
that's why people are
protesting
for
that. Yeah, so
Mm.
they're
it's like
protesting the
intertwined. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and when like there's uncertainty, especially economic uncertainty, because no one really knows how this summer is going to be or how a year from now is going to be as far as this pandemic.
Mhm.
A lot of people are scared and they just see like they're desperate, and unfortunately it's gonna this is probably gonna happen in a lot of countries around the world, something
Yeah.
similar to this effect, because a lot of countries they lost a lot of money and the governments are going to want to make that money back, so they're going to want to, the only way governments make money is through tax.
Yep.
So
What do you think is gonna happen here?
here I
In the
think
United
we'll
States,
be fine. Everything is going to open up by this summer.
it's already opening up.
Yeah,
They already announced the phases.
I got my second shot today.
Oh, you got the shot?
Yeah. I
Nice.
think Gillette Stadium
Yeah,
has that's where I went. That was a super sad one. I think
where
they're
everybody
vaccinated
goes.
over, well, because it's the biggest one, but they have like other ones inside of Boston, like Fenway Park and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They've vaccinated over like 500,000 people.
Yep.
Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
and
They
allegedly
anticipated.
vaccinations lead to herd immunity. So,
Didn't
and it's
they
loosen
already
it up where anyone
announced?
can go to get it now too.
They already announced that like 100 million Americans or Americans have the COVID vaccine.
Yeah, so it's a third of the country,
Yeah,
and
that's exactly.
if the
So
vaccine works,
once it's more than halfway of the country vaccinated, they're gonna just open everything up like regular. Did
Yeah.
you see that actually the Pfizer is developing a oral pill for the COVID-19?
that'd be dope. Like a flu, like you know how you drink NyQuil when you get the
Yeah,
flu.
like a flu shot every year. So they take an oral pill.
It could be like that. Well, not a flu shot. I'm talking about like the fever, like a fever.
The way that I look at it is like this. So I didn't get the vaccine. I don't plan on getting the vaccine. That's
Well, you
just
have
I don't
diabetes.
want to. Yeah, I don't need to.
Yeah.
Once the population of the world, the United States is like 70%, 66% vaccinated, I don't really need to worry. It's 1 in 3 chance of somebody having it and then spreading it to me. And even then, like, it's not like I'm sitting there freaking like grabbing people's hands and stuff.
Not
You know what I
even
mean?
that,
Like even prior to
the
this, it's not like
vaccine
we're
just
sitting
won't
there.
spread.
No,
This,
it won't spread
yeah, like
because
that's
it's not
herd
going to be.
immunity. That's what vaccines
Yeah.
do. They increase herd immunity without getting the
But at the
virus.
same time, like they also don't know, and this is one of the things that they keep releasing, is they don't know if that a different strand comes through, that the COVID-19 vaccine that they've developed will actually prevent it. It'll maybe
Hey.
be like 30 to 40% effective against it, but that's not anywhere near what you would want it to be.
Yeah, but they also don't know if another COVID comes to like COVID-21, if it's even.
Oh, I've
gonna
been
be
saying
Yeah.
I think there's a COVID-21 this year. In November it's gonna hit.
Well, even if it hits, like there's
Did
no
you see
saying
what's been
that
happening in India?
Yeah, but India has been lying about this the whole time and covering it up, and they pretty much gave away like all their like medical resources to like Britain.
Yeah. Still, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a COVID-21
Yeah, I mean,
new strand that comes through. They call it
So I see-
COVID-21.
I seen an article that they estimate that over 900 million Americans have not 900 million, 900,000 Americans have actually died from COVID.
But so
yeah, they
but
inflate the numbers.
they've inflated, yes, because even in the beginning when COVID first hit us, there were a bunch of like, and I was reading up on this because I was very
Yeah.
concerned and like very interested. Many doctors were going online and also taking videos of themselves saying they are making us fill out COVID-19 without actually investigating because
They get funding
Um,
for it.
they get funding for
Yeah.
the hospital for it. And then when that leaked, they were told not to tell anyone, and doctors leaked that as well. And then they stopped doing that because a lot of hospitals were going to be investigating on. So they were falsifying, saying like, say you had a grandparent that was 95 years old, and they went in there with like chest palpitations or something like that, and say it was they were having a mini stroke or something like that, and they died. Nope, it was COVID. It was COVID-19 complications that caused the stroke.
Do you think
So
that
the-
happened everywhere though?
Yeah, I do. I think it was happening all around the world. I think it was being inflated everywhere.
So
Yeah.
what I've been looking at over since it started in the numbers is I've been
Yeah.
tracking like the government or the CDC releases like how many deaths happen a month or whatever.
Mhm.
And it showed like if you look from like March till now, there's like a ridiculous amount of extra deaths, right?
Yeah.
Because
And the CDC and WHO both didn't have anywhere near close the same amount of deaths recorded.
well, I'm just talking about like when someone dies, you have to record someone died. This is not like saying what they died from.
No, I know.
This is like a list of like, let's say April, normally 1,000 people die in April, right? I was saying like 5,000 people died in April instead of the 1,000 that's normally. Instead of 2,000 people dying in May, 20,000 people died in May, right?
Exactly.
It just shows the extra amount, like the percentage
Mhm.
difference. Which
But
I
they
think
never
is
investigated those deaths. They just
but like you're not gonna have you're not gonna have 20,000 extra deaths in a year, or in a month, right? Maybe in a year you might, but in a month you're not gonna have like certain like you might have like a couple thousand different. But unless there's like a mass tragedy, like an earthquake or a tsunami or something that is going to make more people die than natural causes, right? Like a war breaking out or something like that.
Yeah.
So like if you look at charts from like the last like 20 years, you can see a line going up of like more people dying than usual. But it's not saying like these people are dying from the coronavirus. It's just saying like in this is just a random number, but like in May of 2020, 37,000 people died in New York State this month. Normally it's 6,000, right? It's something like that. So anyone looking at you can see like if you analyze data, like okay, what happened in this month that caused that, right? But it's not like they were coronavirus deaths. It's just showing the deaths compared to the previous years before. So there is something happening in the world that there's an increase of people dying.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I honestly, I said this when they first started. I think that they got it all wrong. I think there was two viruses that were going around, and they just they were both labeled as coronavirus. I think there was two diseases or two strands of something going around, and one of them was more severe than the other. And one of them was causing, or one of them was causing more deaths than the other, I think. And I think they just grouped them together as coronavirus.
Maybe one was the coronavirus and one was COVID-19.
But that's what no.
Like you know how people it used to be the coronavirus and now it's COVID-19.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't have the flu. I had influenza.
Well, no, it's like I don't have the flu. I have the cold. Like two different viruses. One can kill you, one can't kill you.
But that's what I think. I have no actual,
I don't know, man.
basis
I'm
towards
not a doctor.
it. But I just think that there was two things that were leaked and they were grouped as one because they were very similar symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, symptoms are going
to because it's very shocking to me that in the beginning of it all there was thousands of deaths every day, and then all of a sudden it's just not.
There still is.
It's not as bad as it was last year.
Dude, we went from like allegedly having like 12,000 deaths in March in the United States to by September having 200,000 alleged deaths.
Allegedly.
That's what I'm saying alleged because I'm not there. I'm not recording the data. I can only
Yeah.
interpret it, so it's alleged,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
right now, I think they're saying like 400,000 deaths, alleged deaths, right?
Mhm.
So like, I think it's just people are just not talking about it and they're used to it, and the topic went from like there could be a pandemic coming. What are we gonna? How are we gonna respond to this? To like, okay, the pandemic's here, but how are we gonna reopen? I think the conversation of the topic has changed, and that's what the media has been
Mhm.
covering. So they're not talking about like pretty much
Mhm.
ever since they got the vaccine, they were talking
You
about
haven't been hearing of like, oh, corona deaths
yeah,
spikes.
you've been
and
hearing about how
you've been
many
hearing
people have
about
been
the
vaccinated instead
yep.
of how many people have died.
Yeah.
And that goes to my other point to bring it back to Colombia is well not Colombia in particular, but the media. And I said this earlier, I don't know if anyone heard me, but my wife was actually saying that she understands how people who are foreigners to Colombia view Colombia the way they view it because of what they're seeing in the media.
Because they only show the bad stuff.
Exactly. So like, because she was talking to her mom and she was asking her mom like what was going on, all this stuff, and they live in Bogota, right? So it's like a major city, and they're like, yeah, that's not really what's going on here, right? Because if you turn on the news, it's like all of Colombia is like erupting in protest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
well, it's like what happened with the Capitol. It wasn't going on around the whole United States. It was just
Yeah.
the capital of the.
yeah, and I was telling she got like really upset because she's in this group chat with a bunch of other au pairs, and
Mhm.
they were talking about it, and she just gave her opinion on the matter, and then like she was attacked by the other girls, and like
Are the other girls Colombian?
yeah, like it's a mix of like Colombian, Argentinian, Spanish
Yeah.
speakers,
Yeah.
Latinx people, you know. But I
Yeah.
told her like it's just no one really knows probably the truth of what's going on,
That's the problem too. Is that the fact
and
that
you're both living in the United States and you're just
Sorry,
getting
I just have to check
information
that.
based off of that, you know.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you, and that's
And
why I'm saying like I don't like to jump to
and
conclusions or anything that I hear
yeah, and
because
she did marketing, right? That's her major, right? Is marketing.
yeah,
And then I explained it to her marketing, like the news is going to put on the news what gets people to watch the
yep,
advertisements.
exactly,
So
and
what story is going to cover it? The violent one, right?
yeah,
The
yep,
news isn't going to say like, oh, the Colombian president retracted his bill because of the protest. They're going to be like, the Colombian government is trying to violently suppress the protest,
yep.
and that's just going to create more violence. And that happens here. It happens probably everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's just a shame.
Well,
Oh, you can go. I talked too
well,
much.
no, that's fine. All I was gonna say is that's why I think spreading awareness is key. You know, even if it like I said earlier, or you had corrected me indirectly, it doesn't affect us, but you should still know about it if you're listening to it,
Well,
or
like if you listen to
or if
this
we're hearing about
podcast,
it, then
it affects someone on the podcast, which
Mhm.
can kind of affect you because now you hear me talk about it because it's affecting my wife, and now you know, right?
yeah.
So, and
But even
just like that, like I have friends who are Colombian. My godfather's Colombian. Like I'm not
yeah,
Colombian, but stuff that I like to know what's going on there because I have family there. I have in-laws there now. I have
Mhm.
friends who are families are from there.
true. And even then, it's still like you
Yeah.
said, it indirectly affects us because we still need to know about it. Like you said, if they're an ally of ours, we don't know. Is this going to be another reason that we're going to jump into a war?
Yeah, like, and it could be because if
It's
Venezuela is
spreading
involved, like
awareness.
people are saying, like
Yeah,
the United States wants a pro-American government in Venezuela. So
yeah,
if those speculations are true, then it does directly affect us because now we're involved in Venezuela. And Venezuela is close to the United States. It's not far. Like it's
true.
not all the way across the world. So
And Yeah.
And they can probably attack at least Puerto Rico. There you go.
Hmm.
Now you're involved in it. Like they probably can't make it to the mainland United States, but they can definitely make it to the Virgin Islands,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
right? Or the Panama Canal completely closed the shipping in the world, right?
Yeah.
So,
But even then, I also want to stress for people to also get factual information.
and that's so
Because
hard to do.
That's the other thing. That's why I didn't jump into conclusions on what was going on, because where am I getting my facts or information from? From the media, from like news articles and stuff like that I'm seeing, or people posting and things like that. But
And
I
that's why I
can't
wanted to bring my wife
100%
on because
believe
she's
or
closer
agree.
to it.
Yeah. And that's
And then
fine.
even her, she was showing me videos yesterday that
Yeah.
were kind of like those PragerU videos, you know?
Mhm.
Have you ever seen those PragerU videos? Where they're like,
Mhm.
it's a YouTube channel, right? Where it's like blatantly like Republican conservative, and they just kind of whitewash over everything and make it seem like every Republican policy is like perfect and utopian, right?
Yeah.
Where it's just pure propaganda. And she showed me a video yesterday, and it was in English, and the wording was like similar to something out here Tommy Lawrence say. And I'm like, you need to be careful with what you're watching because people are gonna take the clips and form it to their specific needs instead of
Yep.
showing the actual truth.
Yep. Exactly. And that's why we're discussing it here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we don't know the factual,
And
we
that
don't
can
know
be
the
used with
complete
anything.
facts to it, but we're just speaking on what we heard or from inside sources that know people from the country that are hearing certain things. What we could be saying on this podcast might not be true, but like that's what I'm saying. Don't go off and just believe everything you're seeing. But that's why I want to make it an awareness.
Yeah, and I would like to say, like, and this is specifically to everyone in the world, don't get your news from one source,
No.
right? Don't just get your news from CNN or Fox News, right?
No.
Don't get your news from CNN or Fox News. How about that? Like, don't get your news from them.
No, because they're only going to give you what's going to attract you.
Maybe the local affiliate channels because they're more grounded in reality, but
Yeah.
still they're ran by the same corporations. Like, you know how Facebook tracks your political preference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they will only show you stuff you politically agree with, and it
Yeah.
puts you in an echo chamber of stuff you politically agree with.
Yep.
When I found that out like 5 years ago, the first thing I did was like unliked all the stuff that I liked, right? And then I went on like a biased news thing where it shows you like where each news has its political leaning. And I liked purposely the one that was to the center, the one that had a right bias but was like had integrity, and one that had a left bias that had integrity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they have different levels. Like you can have a bias and still have integrity, right? You get into trouble when you have the news that's has the bias, but they also have the propaganda going behind it because they have what they're pretty much working for that political party, right?
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I just started reading different articles. So like whenever I see anyone, I wish everybody did this. Whenever I see anyone post anything online, especially if it's a meme or anything, and it's like a stat or something,
Mm-hmm.
I immediately try to disprove it, right? Whether it's something I agree with or not.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could tell me like, hey Mike, the Miami Dolphins are looking really good this year. I'm gonna look at reasons why they're not, right? And then if you told me the Miami Dolphins gonna do really bad this year, I'm gonna look at reasons why they're not, right? Because I want to actually know the truth, and the truth is in both sides of the argument most of the time. Because sometimes there are people who will say something just to make themselves look good, and they're just completely lying. But like in a normal conversation with people, people have biases and they're saying it, but there is a mix, you know? So you need to inform yourself on what the other people are thinking, why they're thinking that. So then when you actually have a discussion with people, rational people in person, not online because people aren't trying to listen online, but in person, you can be like, well, I saw that, but then I saw this other stat that said this,
True.
right? And then you can have the discussion based off of that instead of just sharing a screenshot of a meme you saw and not having any data behind to back it. And then when
Mhm.
someone tells you to prove it, you're like, it's not my job to prove it.
Yeah.
You should be in charge of the information you're getting, is what I'm saying, right? And you should make sure what you're getting is the correct information. And then
Yeah.
you should base your opinion off of that, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you do that. I doubt Jose does that. He's probably
I-
too caught up about J. Cole's
I
new album
don't.
dropping.
I don't do that. Anything that I share, I kind of read into it first before I share anything.
He should be dropping soon, and when that happens, it will be a special moment. But no, no, yeah, I think you're right. I think everybody should check their information.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like everything is biased though,
Yeah,
and I think
that's what I'm saying.
then
You have to get both biases.
it
It's
becomes
biased towards one
it becomes
direction.
everyone's responsibility if they want to for everybody to educate themselves in the best way possible, but it also falls into individual responsibility for you to want to believe and like always lean in the right direction of what is right, even if it's not necessarily what you originally believed in, and be open-minded,
Hmm.
but to each his own though, you know what I'm saying? Like that's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody makes that decision for themselves, and
Yep.
it depends on who the individual is. And if you are somebody who likes to grow as a person, then you'll make the world a better place. If you're somebody who's gonna be stubborn and close-minded, then it's people like you who make the world um where it's at, so
Yep.
Yeah, and it's also
I
hard.
agree.
Like it's hard being wrong, right? It's not like it's hard having a
It's,
belief
it's,
and then
it's
being
hard accepting that
confronted.
you're wrong.
Yeah, like that's when you get defensive and you get angry. But you got to understand, like we only can process what's in front of us, and if we were misled and
mhm,
someone told us if we're misled and then we find the truth, it's our
mhm,
obligation to embrace the truth because being misled is you're just not being truthful, right?
mhm,
And I'm pretty sure lying is a sin, right?
It is.
yeah,
Not to get religious, but the truth is what comes down. The truth is important, and if people don't embrace the truth, then you can never have the progress.
Yep.
mhm.
True.
That's true. Did you guys
I
talk the
agree.
local stuff yet or no?
No,
I didn't, because
Oh,
that's the
you
other
guys
thing.
yeah,
were
that's
you guys
another.
gonna
It's like a same thing because no one really knows what's going on
That's
with
the
that.
other thing is
okay.
because so I can only really go off of what I've read. Like
Yeah.
I want to say I've read probably like 15 different articles.
Mhm.
And obviously, so with the tragedy that happened locally here, just outside of our town, basically, in Hopkinton, surrounding the death of a young girl. It's still being investigated and all that. And like I said, I don't want to go too far into it because there's still a lot of information that hasn't been provided,
Mhm.
and there's
Oh,
certain
actually,
information that has been leaked that we
I'm reading
don't.
something right now that actually says something like
So yesterday,
there
in
was a
earlier
fight
this.
that broke out that
Yeah,
night.
I told you about
Yeah,
that, Mike. That's what I was telling you that you said
yeah.
you didn't hear. So, just to give a few some information,
But the
there was a young
prosecutor
woman.
like collaborated, like it happened.
There was a young woman that was found, unfortunately, um, dead,
Mhm.
hanging from a tree. I don't want to
Mhm.
go too far into the description and details because
Yeah.
it's not my story to really tell. But it's like I said, it's awareness. It's everyone
Mhm.
needs to be aware of what's going on, and regardless of the situation, they need to know that this stuff is still happening.
Mhm.
And so this young girl was found, and there was no note, there was no information. They're calling it a suicide. They're still investigating.
They haven't called it a
Um,
suicide officially. They're saying they weren't investigating foul play.
yeah. So unfortunately, so there was leaked information that was provided that this young girl was being bullied in school, and it was happening over a course of time. And she got into an altercation the night before she was found, or the night before she was She left before she was found with 4 people, and there was nothing done about it. And what I can tell you is this: when something happens, there's an investigation that has to go through, and then they have to investigate the other issue that happened. This is what kind of annoyed me and what kind of ticked me off from being, we're involved with the law when I was younger and stuff like that. If there was a young girl who they call it a jumping, she was attacked by 4 people. If she was attacked, why were those children set free or not? A matter of fact, they weren't even investigated. They weren't followed up on. They never reported. They never called the parents to report them to the police station. It was just a information that was provided, and they said they were going to investigate, and that was it. In Hudson, I can tell you a fair fact. If I was involved in jumping some other kid, they would have provided the information, and they would have found me at my house or whatever. And now you look at it the other way, and this is part of the reason that I don't want to go too far into it, and I don't want to be biased about it. But it's just there's way too many examples that have been given throughout time and throughout my existence that I have to lean this way, because it's the evidence and the fact that I relate most to. This would have been a different story if that child was not African American or Black. If they were American or Caucasian or white, this would have been handled differently. And unfortunately, like I'm saying, I'm not trying to be biased, but you've heard it time and time again. Every story that ever comes out is when it's a child who's Hispanic, brown, Muslim, Black, whatever, that is not white American, they get treated differently. So part of me thinks that's the reason why it was never followed up on. It was information that was provided to a young Black girl, about a young Black girl, and they said, yep, we'll do our due diligence in investigating. They went home, they let that girl, deal with her wounds and didn't follow up on it. Mike, you can even attest, if something like that happened in Hudson regarding, flip it the other way, if it was a bunch of Spanish kids that attacked a white kid.
Well, hopefully they didn't attack this white kid, because that wouldn't end up well for them. But anyways,
I'm not saying you. I'm saying another kid. If it was say it was me, Jose, and the kids that we used to hang out back in the day, and we attacked a kid.
I think in Hudson, if you attacked a kid, no matter what you were, they were going to get both sides regardless, right? Like, yeah, I think, and I don't want to generalize, but I think Hudson is kind of an anomaly in that fact where we're kind of sheltered from the real world really bad, for the most part, besides the small Hispanic community or the minuscule African-American community there. Yeah. It's a class of immigrants who came here, European immigrants who came here, worked in factories, and they set up roots. And pretty much everyone was kind of held on equal terms. Yeah. And I know the cops could be kind of, suspect at times. Like I think, I heard some. Remember Dean from McDonald's, the Black guy who was the
yeah.
I remember one time he said he filed a report against the Hudson Police Department because there was they stopped the guy in McDonald's, right? And they illegally searched his car. He happened to be Black. Yep. And he's like, you guys got to get off of my property. And he filed a whole lawsuit against him. I remember that happening. Yeah. And this could just be my ignorance. I don't know how you and Jose or anyone else was handled, but it didn't seem like Hudson was the type of town to kind of just let something slide. They were investigating after they did a little bit of investigation. They might prosecute, they might not, depending on how bad it was. But from what I just read, the assault happened at night on Saturday night, right?
Well, it was 6 o'clock, so it was nighttime.
It doesn't matter. That's semantics. It's nighttime, it's evening, right? Saturday evening. Yeah, it was 13 hours later, she was found hanging in her apartment complex. right?
No, from the woods.
In the woods.
In the woods. From a tree.
Either way, she was found hanging, right?
Yeah.
So just doesn't matter where she was found. Unfortunately, she was found hanging, right?
Yes. Which they would call that a lynching.
Yeah, if it was what I suspect it is, just based on the country we live in.
Yes.
It seems to me that from the gross negligence from 6 o'clock till the time that person was found, right?
Yep.
Because she was just attacked, like she was just assaulted, whatever.
Yep.
You're saying she was left to tend to her own wounds. So what happened after?
They didn't bring her to the hospital, or that information wasn't really provided. They may have told her, "Let's bring you to the hospital." She probably denied and said, "No, I want to stay home."
My question is, so the police were called, right?
Yep.
They showed up.
Yep.
And it was in front of her apartment.
They spent a total of 20 minutes in her apartment.
Okay, but they were at her apartment.
Yep.
Right. So what happened between the time they left to when she was found?
So So I don't know if the article you were reading. So
I was reading Mass Live, so I was just giving like a broad overview of the visual
information that from the time that the police left, to the time that the mother fell asleep at 9:45 or like 9:47, something like that. She thought her daughter was in the house and her daughter was not there. And there was determined from her cell phone that she had walked 1,300 steps into the woods. And that is unfortunately the last of it.
Okay, so
they supposedly checked cell phone records of the 4 kids that were involved in the fight. Huh? What? They checked records of the 4 kids that were involved in the fight, and they said that from matching cell phone records, they were nowhere near what happened.
But they could have just left their cell phone.
You could have left your cell phone. Exactly. Yeah. That's the first thing I said.
But the thing that
you need to determine
how did she get out of her house?
That's the other thing. They didn't release text message records. The other thing that's
what's suspicious to me.
I think a main question that I have is, who are these other people? Like, how are they connected to the town?
So the other thing that I read
is, all of that stuff.
The other thing that was read that was leaked, and like I say, I'm not saying this is factual information or anything, but she was in a relationship with one of the girls.
Okay, yeah.
So one of the girls that did the jumping, was in a relationship with the young female who was dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of the times you can see already where that could be motive, all that.
Domestic abuse or whatever. I don't know if you can say domestic abuse at 16 years old.
Yeah.
The equivalent.
Sure, I knew kids that were hurting their girlfriends at 16 years old.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's actually called domestic. Like at 16.
No, it's still considered domestic abuse. Yeah.
Assault.
Yeah. It's still considered domestic abuse.
So that's
okay. Yeah. So, but that's the information that was provided. There was a vigil tonight that was held for her. So she was from Hopkinton.
To me, whenever they find any African American hung anywhere, I just think they should do a full investigation just because of the history of this country.
So here's the other thing is the DA's office was accused of was accused of hiding information regarding the case. One of the things that, like I said, this isn't factual, but one of the information that was provided, that one of the girls involved in the altercation, I think it's their father or their uncle is a state trooper. He's a state police officer. And that they're saying that they've been told to keep hush and stuff like that. So there's a lot of rumors going out that they're sweeping it under and not investigating fully. So the lawyer who is now taking the case is requesting from the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, that a full out, unbiased investigation be done.
Which
And
should
she's
be
already gotten
automatically.
petition, which should have been done automatically, exactly. So they're saying that there could be months before the report is finished,
It's just
which
a
I've never
terrible
seen,
situation.
which I've never seen in any investigation that months have. It's taken months for an autopsy, for a full out investigation to go through.
Well, the autopsy is going to be hard because if there was a fight before, right? Like
True,
if she,
but
yeah,
remember,
so,
if there was fights before, there's already pre-wounds. There's wounds already that were there, and it was cold. That it was so. Without going into too much forensics, like I said, I'm not a doctor or anything, but wounds that are already open, and they're open, and then they freeze overnight. It's a different wound than something that may be fresh. It's always
It's
the
just
term. You
terrible.
always find it in the forensic reports.
yeah,
It's a terrible tragedy. It wasn't
yeah,
handled
I don't
correctly.
really.
I
I'm
think
kind of uncomfortable talking about it just because like I want to give their family like
exactly.
time to like
Mhm.
learn
And
what's happening
that's
before you have me and you talking about something
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
just trying to like piece it together. But
Yeah.
like it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
If it if and like the best case scenario of it is still a worst case scenario too, right?
True.
So like there's no way like even
There's no happy ending to it,
like
but
a
they
happy
do
ending is like all these kids
they
didn't lynch her.
they well they deserve the respect of finding out what happened.
Yeah, they need to know what happened.
And so
And
like I said, they
anyone
held a
involved
vigil
in the
tonight.
cover up should lose whatever right they have to be in law
They
enforcement
no, they
or
should go
prosecutor.
straight to jail. I'm sorry, but
Yeah,
if
like
you
you
were
were
involved in
involved
this and you try to
in
cover it up, you go straight to jail. You are automatically second degree murder. Nope, second degree manslaughter.
I don't know if I'll charge them with manslaughter or whatever, but I
I
think
would. You
well, they
covered it
weren't,
up.
but they weren't involved in it.
You become an accomplice as soon as you cover something up.
Yeah, that's true. But anyways,
But
and
anyways,
this is like my
we'll,
whole problem with the justice system in general and the way
yeah,
it works is like at the bare minimum, the whole Black Lives, and I don't want to talk about Black Lives Matter along with this because some people have that negative opinion about Black Lives Matter, and it
yeah,
might salt their water. But at the bare minimum, the Black Lives Matter movement was to hold police accountable for the actions, right?
hmm
And that somehow turned out people being anti-police, which the police should be the ones wanting to hold their own accountable. I understand that's hard because it's people you work with, these people you're trusting to have your back. But in the long run, you not holding them accountable is staining your shirt. It's making you look bad. It's putting you in bad light. So getting these people out of that system is where your priority should be.
yeah.
And I kind of
So
like with the whole Devin Chauvin case that the police
yeah.
just turned against him. They were just like, yeah, this is not what we do.
So before we continue on, I just want to do out of respect, since there was a vigil tonight, I'm gonna count a minute. We're gonna all be silent. I'm actually gonna take us off in respects, and we're gonna end this topic and conversation. Like I said, I hope justice is served and or the information is provided.
I hope the
And
truth is found out.
yes, but I'm
And
gonna
then the
start it
justice
now.
is, yep.
A minute. So I'm gonna take us all out. All right. Um,
So now that we got those two depressing topics,
hmm.
dude, this is. You know what always. You know what depresses me the most about everything going on in the world is that statistically, this is the most peaceful time in human existence.
Yeah, because back in ancient times, people would be at battles and wars all the time.
I know, like we live in the most peaceful time, and everyone's just like, "Wow, the world's on fire."
It's just because you see things that are going on that should have been fixed years ago that still haven't been addressed.
I don't know why people just don't fix it. Like, I don't like what.
But that's the thing is the people that are in
What-
charge haven't done their diligence of fixing it.
Like, what do they lose in it? Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, who is? If you're a politician, you have constituents, right?
Mhm.
And they're there. You're there to represent them. What kind of people are you representing that you want to keep the worst of society continuing? Like, why wouldn't you
Mhm.
want to make progress?
Well, look at it like this, Mike. Too. Look at the biggest politicians. Why is it that all the families are always the families always stay in power? Whether it's from one child to their grandson to whatever,
Give me
it's
one
always the
example
same.
of one right
Oh.
now.
Huh?
Give me one example of one right now.
The Bushes,
There's no Bushes in power right now.
his son, they're still in politics. What do you mean?
Where? Name them.
I don't know his son's name. Hold on. I think he's running. Is it? No, hold on.
Jeb was the governor of Florida, but he ran for president. The Kennedys still are.
Kennedy's.
Joe Kennedy the third. But like to the Kennedys' point, like they kind of had a bad run in politics.
I mean,
Oh, it might be his grandson. It might not even be his.
because it got taken down.
Hmm?
Michael, why did you say the Kennedys had a bad run in?
Well,
Hey.
JFK was assassinated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Robert F. Kennedy won like the Democratic nomination and was killed at the DNC at the
Yeah.
like convention. John F. Kennedy Jr. like died in a plane crash coming back from like Martha's Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
They just have like as a family, they just have like bad voodoo. Like
Mm.
one of them killed somebody and like drunk driving and like they covered up the body.
Well,
And then you look at the one who was running for Senate this year. Or is it Joe Kennedy the third?
Mm.
He has like a bunch of health problems. Like they're like inbred.
Where do you leave the Bidens?
Huh?
Where do you leave the Bidens?
The Bidens?
Yeah.
I don't. There's like one Biden who's the president. I don't think there's any other ones.
Well, obviously our current president, but I'm saying, where do you leave his family?
Huh?
So where do you leave his family?
What are you talking about? I don't think does his family have like a legacy like the Kennedys?
No.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one that was probably going to be a politician, Bo, unfortunately had brain cancer. And I think he has like maybe two, and like even when he was like first like a congressman or something.
Hunter?
No, Joe. His wife and like three of his kids died in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
And Hunter, I think, was one of the ones in the car. That's why he's all messed up today. He has all that trauma from living when his mom and his two sisters died. And then like look at the way he's treated online because people just don't like his dad.
Yeah. Well, he's also been accused of like multiple drugs and stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, but that's not a reason for doing it. Oh no. I changed the channel. But
change
like
stuff.
no, you're on my TV and I sat on the remote and then put Hulu on. I was like, did my computer shut off? Then I heard you in the background. But like just because has all his drug problems and all that stuff,
Yeah.
that's not a reason for people to hate him. That's not a reason for people that's not even a reason for people to talk about Joe Biden because he's not his son, right? The only person who can do anything about Hunter Biden is Hunter Biden. He's the first, unfortunately, the one with all his demons that are making him that way. And I mean, I don't have this experience. I'm pretty sure none of you have the experience of having extreme survivor's guilt when you're in a car crash and your mom and your two sisters have perished. You know,
It's definitely a traumatic circumstance.
that's extremely traumatic. Like,
Yeah.
so like
True.
me, I don't know anything about him besides what's put out on the news. And to be honest, I don't really care because he's not the president. He's not a politician. Worst case scenario, he's given a job because of who his dad is. And that's literally what like everybody does. They look out for their own kids.
Oh wait, what? I didn't even see this.
What are you looking at?
No, something stupid that has nothing of importance.
something
Floyd Mayweather versus Jake Paul.
Oh,
I
he
think-
took his hat.
If we get
Take his hat.
anything out of this conversation today, is that you can't always believe,
Yeah,
all the
it's,
resources. So
What's the name of the episode? Awareness. Need
yeah,
more awareness.
awareness of the fugazi information that's being
Don't
spread
appropriate my
out there.
culture. You're not allowed to say fugazi. You're not Italian.
This guy.
Oh, you could tell that was set up. Oh, get out of here.
What?
Jake Paul taking his hat.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think Floyd Mayweather would have knocked his hand down.
He would have knocked him out right there and then if it was actually really disrespectful.
He doesn't
like
have
that.
the Floyd Mayweather doesn't have the knockout power.
Hey guys, I gotta head out. Unfortunately,
Why is he
Why?
50-0 and like 30?
How many has he won by knocked out?
Oh, in the last 10 years, he hasn't won like any.
Exactly. And how many?
have to head
people have
out.
been-
You just
Yeah.
got
Jake
here.
Paul size?
I know. Well, I started
I knew
at
was-
8:30 an hour ago, but I've been
All I
in
knew
and out,
is-
my bad.
You've been in and out, in and out.
In and out.
Nothing against him really, but it's just I don't know. He rubs me the wrong way because of his content creating self, and he's
Yeah,
just
I mean,
Jake,
That's
Jake,
yeah.
see,
And
I like Jake. You know
I-
why I like Jake Paul?
Why?
He's a
Because
clown,
in
that's
high
why
school
he-
I was him. Not talking about like the arrogance of the content creating or being a douche,
Yeah,
but like so many MMA fighters wanted to fight me because they did MMA and they think they can win.
yeah.
But and I've been saying this to everyone who said, what was his name? The guy he just knocked out, the MMA fighter.
The
wrestler.
No, the
The wrestler.
I forget his name.
So,
Anyways,
so you
he's-
guys don't think any of that stuff is set up or staged or anything?
No,
Yeah,
he's fighting
boxing-
people who
yeah.
aren't boxers. See, the
Yeah,
thing
he's
he's training as a boxer. He's going to boxing gyms. He's not just like some guy
But
who just
he's doing it the disrespectful way. Whereas that's the reason why a lot of boxers want his head and they want to fight him and knock him out. Like
no,
quick.
they want his head because they fight him. They're getting millions of dollars. They're getting the
well,
biggest
that's
paycheck they're getting.
that's what I'm trying to tell you is he's doing it the disrespectful way. Whereas boxing is an art, and he's not doing it for the sport of art. He's doing it for the sport of. He's doing it for the sole reason of views and money.
Okay,
That's the only. Which I understand. Everyone who gets
Like,
into boxing eventually.
you think
that's what you want.
Floyd Mayweather is gonna fight 50 fights and not get paid?
I understand that.
Yeah, like no, people are just hypocrites. Like, oh, you're getting all the attention and you're an amateur. I don't like you. Like, yo, blame your own management for making you be humble in press conferences. If you should learn anything from the WWE, it's that every fight
Well, that's
needs a
not-
heel. No, but
Yeah,
you need that bad person that is
Yeah.
drawing interest to the fight. Like you fight Mike Tyson, he's going wild in the press conference.
Well,
Conor
yeah,
McGregor,
that's why Conor McGregor is
exactly,
that way. Yeah,
exactly. So like,
but honestly, he sucks now. He's lost like 4 in a row.
yeah, I mean, he probably was never good. Like he's probably just.
It was
I
all
never
the
thought he
show,
was good,
right?
but I just don't respect MMA as.
I
because-
think all sports are washed now. Everything because TV and sports have become like what can be more
Predictable.
entertaining and what's
A lot-
selling
a lot of-
rather than the actual sport itself. Just like I mean, and you can apply that to anything like music or anything. Like it's what sells now. So it's not necessarily
It's
the
always been what
sport that
sells. Nobody's
sells,
like
but the show or like the
If any, it's just dying out. If anything,
yeah, everything though.
boxing
I
is
feel like it
dying
applies
in
to basketball, football, everything.
and Jake Paul right now is literally keeping boxing like entertaining. Unfortunately,
I wouldn't say just him. There's other people that do it,
I
but
guarantee you, Canelo is not getting as much people watching his fight as who just watch Jake Paul box. And
I can guarantee you, I
But-
haven't watched any of Jake Paul's fights because
Yeah,
they're not
but
worth
Jake
it. I
Paul
can just
has,
watch the
like,
replays.
he has like the fourth highest pay per view of any fighting match ever. It's like
Yeah, because he's got
Pacquiao,
all of
Mayweather.
because he's got the YouTube family backing him
Yeah,
up.
but
Like that's
yeah,
how
but
you
I'm saying,
that's how you sell on YouTube is you have to follow a bunch of creators for them to follow
well,
you.
the fights aren't on YouTube. It's on like a different app, but like it's just people are spiteful and they hate the most successful person doing anything, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's why Tom Brady is hated. That's why Bill Belichick is hated. That's why I'm hated.
Yeah.
Like they say mean things like I'm arrogant and I'm not humble.
Who says these things?
I
That's
think
still-
I'm the closest thing walking to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They say these things about me, right? But that's just
I
because
still just want to see Jake Paul get knocked the hell out.
he's not getting knocked out.
No, because it's already been it's a show. It's not.
Well, no, it's just Floyd Mayweather doesn't have the knockout power to knock out Jake Paul. Jake Paul's my size. Floyd Mayweather is like 5'6".
Yeah, but you're
right?
also Mike. You're also comparing him to like a other boxer. Jake Paul started fighting a year ago or 2 years ago. He's not a boxer.
But it doesn't. boxing
you're
is
talking
different.
about-
Look, no. This is what you don't
But you're
understand,
talking.
right?
But
Hey,
you're,
I'll
You're
be back,
thinking.
all
You're
right?
thinking.
I'll
You're
be
thinking
back.
people's like
You're
getting
thinking
knocked
of-
out has
of-
nothing to do with what sport you're in. Like
no,
Jake
no.
Paul,
But I'm telling you
Mayweather
like this.
doesn't have that
You're
knockout
not
ability.
looking
He
at
doesn't
it.
have that power. And he's
I
a
understand you.
he's a defensive boxer. He's always
True,
been a
but you're
defensive
also-
boxer. Besides
you're
like his
also
first
looking-
4 fights.
You're also looking at it as all of the fights that Mayweather has boxed. He's boxing people that have started boxing since they were 7 and 8 years old.
Okay,
So they're
cool.
used to getting hit like that. They're used to
But
being
like
in the
the
ring
thing
like
is,
that.
when you get knocked out once, you get knocked out again. It's called you get a glass jaw, right?
Yeah, I guarantee you, Jake Paul has a glass jaw, and I want to see it shatter.
I don't think he does, right?
I think he does. I don't. For a guy that's not a boxer who just started.
No,
2 years
because
ago,
you see the thing
box like
is, right?
that.
This is what you're doing. You're equating him not being a boxer to his ability to take a punch. Those are two different things.
No, that's not true. because
They
you can
I'm
ask
telling
any
you,
boxer,
they
you can
are.
ask any professional boxer. Your chin gets stronger. Yes, it does.
No, but like your brain doesn't. It's not your chin that knocks you out. It's your brain in your head. You take a concussive force, your brain rattles around, and that's what knocks you out. It's
I
not getting
understand
punched in
you.
the chin. They just call it a glass jaw. But what I'm
But with
what,
sparring and
what
things
I'm
like that,
saying
you actually make your exterior
No.
tougher.
it doesn't.
You do.
That's a lie. I'm telling you. Like I was raised by Golden Glove boxers. That's why I have my knuckle game.
Ask the
Right.
many Mexican boxers that are trained to smash their heads into like freaking stone meat.
Yeah, and they all get knocked out.
No, that's one of the reasons why
Yeah.
Mexican boxers have the toughest chins. It's actually
but what
it's a
I'm
stigma,
saying is,
unfortunately.
right,
But yeah,
Jake Paul is 6'3", like 180 pounds,
yes, I know.
Of,
And Mayweather's
like,
5'6".
like 8% body fat. Like this dude's ripped, right? I'm not trying to like man crush him or whatever, but he's jacked, right? We both can say that he has really good muscle.
He's
Floyd
big to me,
Mayweather
but
is not that big of a guy. He doesn't have the power to put someone out like that.
he's toned, but he doesn't have muscle. I don't know where you're saying that Jake Paul has muscle. He's toned. He's toned.
It's the same thing.
He's not
Muscles
jacked.
too. But either
But
way,
he's not
like,
jacked. Like you're thinking like
dude, this dude could probably bench press like 335 pounds,
probably yeah.
right? Okay, so that's jacked, right?
No.
I mean, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but like Floyd Mayweather doesn't have the power to knock out. Like he just doesn't have that power. He can hit you a
Yeah.
bunch of times, like mess up your brain and like cause serious damage. But I doubt that he's gonna have the power to get in, especially with how close you'd have to get in to put the most of the power behind his punch to actually knock out Jake Paul. If Jake Paul was his size, maybe. But Floyd Mayweather, this is what's going to happen in the fight, right? If it's not already fixed.
I can
Floyd-
tell you this: I've seen Floyd Mayweather knock out a guy that was 6'2".
Floyd Mayweather is going to tire him out, right? He's going to tire him out. He's going to make him chase him around, and he's just going to hit him with so many body shots. It's going to be a technical knockout.
I was gonna ask you how many
No.
rounds do you guys think
Probably.
they can go?
But it's
If
not.
they- if
It's going to
it's
be like
not-
the same with Conor McGregor, except
If
for probably
it's
quicker.
not, if it's not to be a spectacle of them selling, like just basically gaining money and stuff like that, I would hope it only goes 3 rounds. But because I know that's how it was angled, is to sell tickets and sell money and just it's
Well, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
predetermined.
Of
It's gonna
course.
go the distance, and Jake Paul's gonna lose.
No, I think it's probably going to be over in the second round. Jake Paul's going to knock off Floyd. I'm going to put $100 that Jake Paul wins.
No way.
Yo,
That would be
yo,
I
that would
will
be
tell
like
you
that would be
this.
like the biggest
There's no
sellout
way-
that
there's no
Floyd
way
would
that-
have done. Like that's just
That
ridiculous.
Mayweather has never been knocked out in his professional career, and
Hey,
Jake
right.
Paul goes and knocks him
he's
out.
not a
There's no
professional.
like-
right? He's
Like
an old
that
man.
could happen, but that would have to like seriously be one like a straight out.
He's an old
sellout.
man, but he fought recently, like 2
And
years
anyways,
ago.
you know how much that payout would be if I put $100 that Floyd Mayweather lost to a YouTuber? I'll probably make like 100,000.
You'd have to look at the booking on it.
Oh, yeah, I don't know
There's
that.
probably an over and under on that right now. I mean, if you were a gambling
like-
person, you could check.
As
do a
someone who
poll.
has been
So
involved
you
in
can go
plenty
on
of fights-
FanDuel. Go on FanDuel or something like that. I guarantee there's already a thing out there for over and under of Mayweather getting knocked out 2 rounds or not.
Yo, my stepdad was a Golden Glove boxer, and back to like MMA fighters and everyone, like this is why I like Jake Paul, because my whole life, especially like middle school through high school, you had all these people who loved the UFC. They thought they were tough because they did like one class of Brazilian jiu-jitsu or whatever. And then they try to like they think they have hands, right? And then when they get in a fight, they throw punches like this, you know. And I used to
breaking
just
their
eat them,
knuckles, yes.
and I just used to eat them alive, right? Like I would just pick them apart because they have no discipline and they don't really know what they're doing. And the thing is,
Uh-huh.
MMA fighters, they're so cocky for no reason at all, because it's like a jack of all trades is a master of none, right?
Yeah.
So like
Mm.
an MMA fighter would beat Floyd Mayweather in an octagon because there's more levels to it, right?
Mhm.
But like an MMA fighter is not going to beat Floyd Mayweather standing, right? Just like an MMA fighter is not going to beat a Greco-Roman wrestler who's just wrestling,
True.
right?
I mean, Connor came close.
he came close, but he didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
No, I know. I'm just saying, Connor
Like,
came close. He's the-
like,
I
but
remember-
he did.
Yeah,
He-
but
he
the only reason he didn't come close is because he kept getting points taken away because he doesn't know the sport.
But what, to Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, don't you remember the fight or whatever? He kept hitting them like sideways and stuff like that. They're like, no, that's a overhead punch.
He
You're not
got
allowed to
knocked
do
out.
that.
He got a TKO. He didn't come close.
No, I know, but he knocked down Mayweather.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like
So he came close
Like,
to
yeah, exactly.
possibly-
You're proving my point. A jack of all trades is a master of none. If they took it to the ground, Conor McGregor could be Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather
That would have
is
taken
trained
30
at
seconds.
boxing. He's a boxer, right?
Yeah.
But my whole life is you get, especially in high school, you get these undisciplined MMA fighter UFC wannabes with their tap out t-shirts and their famous hats, right? And like they hang out at the skate park or whatever, they go to the basketball court and they just think they're tough because they think they're what they're seeing on TV, because they think
it's 2 classes. Yeah.
they took 2 classes, and then they stepped to somebody like me who was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, who was put up against my brothers, and we were taught how to defensively fight and throw punches, right? And now
Yeah.
they're getting picked apart, even though I was smaller than them.
When is this fight happening?
So
Sometime
Floyd
June,
Mayweather's
right?
fighting Logan first. You know that?
Who's Logan?
Is
He's
he?
Jake
No,
Paul's
he's
brother.
fighting. He's fighting
Oh, he's
Jake.
fighting Logan
I thought.
first.
Is he?
Yeah, he's fighting Logan. That was Logan's press conference.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how like all these actual, well, I don't know,
So like you see
fighters
all
is just
MMA fighters, right? Especially with Jake Paul, they're like, "Oh, come and knock that kid out," or like, "or whatever." But
Oh, you're right. It is
realistically,
Logan. It is Logan.
they don't have the training to be boxers, right?
Yeah,
They have to.
he's gonna
He's gonna. No one cares about the Logan one.
Logan.
Him and his Pikachu hat, like.
They're either way. They're both gonna get knocked out.
But like you know what I'm saying? And like you have cousins who are boxers, right?
Yeah.
Right. And now like imagine they get in a street fight with someone who took like MMA classes, right? Those people taking the classes aren't going to be able to get a move on them because when you learn boxing when you're younger, you learn just defensive, like how head movement, how to find open windows and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you learn how to throw those hands, and you have like really good footwork and all that other stuff that's added onto it. And like, dude, it was like all through high school, especially when I was in Marlboro High. I had all these like skater UFC wannabes trying to fight me nonstop, and it was like a game of Tekken for me. Like I'd beat one of them, and then the next biggest one would come, and it was like, what is going on with these people? And I see that happening with Logan Paul and Jake Paul with all these UFC fighters who want to fight them because they think they can beat them because they have all this pride. But when they're not, like, they're not going to be fighting in the octagon, right? So any advantage they have is not going to be there.
Yeah. June 6th, by the way.
Yeah.
It's one month from today.
So like, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm just gonna catch the clips on Barstool, like I do with every other, what I do with everything else, you know.
And I hope it's two rounds and a knockout. Send them packing and tell them stop trying to act like you're a boxer when you're not.
I mean, what makes you a boxer though?
Being a professional boxer. I don't even think he's a professional boxer. Like he hasn't actually registered. He's just doing this for show.
Money off of it, so
yeah, because you're promoting yourself. That doesn't mean you're a professional boxer.
But like, this is just kind of like thought. At what point is someone something? You know,
huh?
Like at what point are we podcasters? Like
Once
if you
gain
did like
enough experience.
But when is that? Like, say, like we start like our first podcast just went viral, and every day we're getting hundreds of thousands of views every time we release something. Are we podcasters then? Are we YouTubers because this is getting uploaded on YouTube?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
you could consider us content creators because we're creating our own content for a podcast. But
so like if I went like said like I wanted to work out and I was like I want to take boxing class or like boxing. I just want to do boxing recreationally. Would I not be a boxer?
You would be studying the art of boxing, but you wouldn't be considered a boxer yet. No.
Why not?
Because you don't have a professional fight under you, or even what do they call it when you're not professional? You're
amateur.
Amateur.
Yeah, I mean, but why? Like, so you need an amateur fight to be considered something.
Mm-hmm. You have to have a rank.
But the rank doesn't mean anything. Like, at the end of the day, boxing
you can't be considered exactly, but you can't be considered a boxer if you haven't boxed.
Can I be considered a boxer if I had 4 skinny legs, a small body, and a short snout? The dog? Come on.
Oh my god.
no, but like, no, seriously, because like, if I'm like, say, I just go to the gym, I take boxing classes, and then like,
say you have a record of 0-2.
No, not any. Let's say like I don't have any record at all, right? But you wouldn't be considered... I studied the game or the sport long enough where I can teach people. Am I a boxer then?
No, you're a trainer.
A boxing trainer. I'm still a boxer.
Not a boxer. You're a trainer.
Nah, I think you're just trying to make it something it's not. When simply like, at what point does it make me a basketball player?
I think each sport has their own meaning.
No, but like they at the point they don't because all activities. Boxing is a martial art, right?
Mhm.
Karate, I think you just get belts the way you level up, and like
Yeah.
you would say,
It's
like
like
I'm a green belt in
jujitsu and-
karate, right? I'm a white belt,
Yeah.
I'm a black belt or whatever. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is the same thing. Boxing
Yeah.
doesn't have that,
Yeah.
but it has ranks.
But at what
But-
point do you consider yourself a fighter then if you're just brand new and have no belt?
I'll consider myself a boxer because I'm boxing.
No, but you just said so. I was saying it as like jujitsu or say karate. You have no belt because you have to earn yourself up to a belt. You get no belt.
So me personally, when I would do it, the second you take it seriously, whatever that means to you, the second like you're actually
You
training,
commit. You mean
You
yeah?
commit,
You actually
like-
commit.
right?
You would consider yourself a fighter.
I would like say if I was Logan Paul, right,
Mhm.
and I did 3 fights, I would consider myself a boxer because I'm training in boxing gyms, I'm sparring in boxing gyms. My whole routine is boxing. I did 3 fights, regardless of the spectacle or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
I am boxing. This is what I'm doing. You know.
So it's still consider him an amateur boxer.
Yeah, but he's still a boxer.
But an
He's
amateur
not a
boxer.
he's not a professional, but he's
Yeah.
still a boxer. That's what I'm saying. Like the term
That still goes
boxer.
to the beginning of the conversation where I said send him packing because he thinks he's a professional boxer when he's not.
I mean, I don't know when you consider yourself a professional boxer.
When you go pro,
Yeah, but what does going pro mean? Like you have to be in.
you actually have
there-
to like register. You know, you have to like register yourself as a professional boxer.
But you
and
have to be
get
like
a
in
license.
the WBC and all that stupid stuff.
No, you just have to register yourself with the state or the gym that you're training at or whatever, and you have to get a license as a professional boxer because there's
Your hands
certain
are
things
weapons.
behind. Yeah, like
Yeah, I know.
technically, like that's the reason. So, like, say since if he was a professional boxer and say he got into altercation with someone on the street or whatever, and they
Yeah,
like
his hands are
boxed
weapons.
or
I
they
know.
fought,
My
exactly,
my hands
he
are
would
registered.
get in a lot of trouble and he would never be allowed to box again as a professional.
When I got into that fight when I was 16.
Yeah,
They registered my hands because of like the density of my
the
knuckles.
density of your knuckles.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it looked
but
like when I
even then, everyone nowadays you use your fist; it's considered a weapon.
yeah, but this was like 12 years ago.
Yeah,
But this is just my thing on anything. Like the second you start taking the thing serious is when you should be considerate. And being pro, like maybe there's reason why he doesn't want to register himself because like maybe if he registers himself, he can't represent himself the way he is now, and he can't get all these deals because now he's under regulation. You know,
but he's only getting the deals through YouTube and stuff. Like that's what I'm trying to
it's
say.
not YouTube. It's like some weird.
He's
app. It's not
what
going.
do
It doesn't go through YouTube. It's like it's
Are you talking about
it's
the zone?
huh?
The zone?
No, it's like its own league. It's like Snoop Dogg's like a co-owner of it.
It's called the zone.
It's
The app.
Diver,
The app that you're talking about?
Diver, or something like that. It starts with like a T.
Oh, I'm pretty sure it's the zone. But because that's the app that you would like go on to like watch fights and stuff. It's a streaming service. Let me see.
I don't know. I don't even know
Well,
how to pick that up.
I think they just announced it or whatever because they were saying the promotions for like both. Like obviously, like Boy Weather has his promotion.
Fight. FITE. TV.
Mhm.
FI what?
FITE.TV.
Okay, yeah. I don't even know.
Oh, Triller.
But
Triller Fight Club.
Fan
that's
Neo?
it.
Fan Neo?
Triller Fight Club is what it's on.
Oh, well, I think his promotion is actually Fan Neo, but
Yeah, so I need to throw some things out since we're kind of just shooting the poop right now.
yeah, shooting the poop.
I'm working on a new podcast, right? And
Yep.
my idea for it is I was watching a video about the WNBA the other day,
Yeah,
right? And they're always complaining about their wages, right?
Well, that's because yes.
Yeah, we all know why it is. No one's watching it, right?
I
They don't.
mean,
They made $6 million when it cost seven. No, they made $60 million when it cost $70 million to run the league. They're losing money.
it makes it,
The,
it's me.
the
Oh, like the league
WNBA,
itself.
yeah. So
That's because
like,
they're not doing a good job of promoting them.
so yeah, no, that's what I want to do. I wanted to kind of not promote it, but I wanted to come up with ways to fix it, right? And these are the ideas I came up with. Tell me what you think,
Yeah.
right? So one reason one thing is to adjust the dimensions to the average woman's height, right?
Mhm.
And I think Tracy McGrady said it, like lowering the rims or whatever. And I think I forget her name,
Um,
one of the best like NBA WNBA players of all time, like all on them.
Lisa Leslie.
Yeah, Lisa Leslie was like, why would we lower the rim? Blah 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 blah. But then like actually thinking about it, their ball is smaller
Yeah.
because women are smaller, right?
Yes.
Their rim should be lower because women are shorter. The rim
Yeah,
should
but
be the rim should be smaller because their
Go
ball
ahead.
is smaller, right? So like the way the NBA or basketball rims work now is a basketball rim is 2 basketballs wide, right? So you get 28.5 diameter ball, the ones the women use. It's now they have I want to say like at least 2 inches extra around 2 balls.
Yeah. So it's
So
like
they
two
should,
balls and a couple inches a
yeah.
diameter
So like
extra.
so me thinking like, okay, like I don't want to lower the rims or shorten the court or anything because I think women aren't as athletic as men. I just want it to fit to what the average dimensions are
Yeah.
based off how tall the average man is. So like say the average man is 5'9", right?
Mhm.
And the NBA is or a basketball rim is 10 feet tall and the average woman is 5'6". What proportion would bring that down to the same size? You know what I'm saying? But
I
do that
think
with,
you. I think you
with
don't lower it though because from like beginning, like from like youth, like even kids or whatever, they're all taught on a 10-foot rim.
eventually they go to a 10-foot rim. They don't start at a 10-foot rim.
You're right. You're right. You start
Yeah. So
off
like,
at like
and like the only criticism I heard was when Lisa Leslie said to Tracy McGrady that why do we need to do that? We've been playing on this rim our whole lives. But like
yep.
at the same time, like if you want everything to equal what the NBA is, why aren't you using regulation basketballs? Because your
Yeah.
hands are smaller.
Yeah.
So why are you shooting on a rim that's designed for people who are 6'6" when you're 6 feet tall, right? Maybe 9.5 feet, a little bit smaller of a rim, like the 28.5 balls wide,
Yeah.
right? And then even like the dimensions of the court itself, maybe make it a little bit smaller, which would create like more kind of feisty play, because it's kind of spaced out a little bit.
Yeah. I don't
But
think there's
that's just one
necessarily
thing.
anything wrong with like the scoring and stuff like that. If anything, to
Well,
me,
not even the
I
scoring.
think
It's
more
just
so is
boring.
that the WNBA itself, or because the
boring. It's
WNBA
boring.
and the NBA have a partnership, they haven't done a good job of promoting. They don't do a good job of promoting
Well,
the women.
so
And you
the
have to
video
look at it
I
like
watched the other
this.
day
Yeah.
is that whenever an NBA player or NBA team tweets or promotes the NBA WNBA, there's someone in the WNBA who attacks them, right? So who is it? Jokic, the one for the Mavericks,
Doncic?
Doncic. He
Luka Doncic?
yeah, he was like, oh, this team is like doing really good. They're awesome or whatever. And then another WNBA team was like, says the guy who hasn't gone to any WNBA games. The thing is, he's been to WNBA games. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Yeah.
anytime anyone has like promoted the league, it's like the WNBA is so like defensive of itself that they come and just attack anybody. So they're like,
I think it's because you see more. So you see more
I don't hear
players.
anything about the WNBA.
You see more players. How would I say?
I don't think I heard anything negative.
You see
about the
more of
WNBA by
the.
NBA players.
you see more NBA players that are not no names, but like not stars, just regular starters or regular bench players or whatever that promote the WNBA more than the stars do. Like the only real stars that you see promoting the WNBA is like Steph Curry and LeBron James and like Kevin
Those are
Durant.
the two biggest basketball players in the world.
But you don't see everyone collectively promoting. Like I think they just haven't done a good job of promoting.
Well,
I think they need to do
this
a better job.
This goes to the second thing I want to propose, right? And I feel the same way about the MLS too, because
Yeah.
right, I think the WNBA in their local cities should let women's basketball players in the games for free, right?
Mhm.
Like say me and you, we're girls, we're playing, we're 7th, 6th grade, we're on a basketball
Oh,
team.
so you mean like anybody that plays like in a recreational basketball league or
Yeah.
like
any
they
like
should
team,
be allowed
like,
to go for free?
give tickets to teams, like to bring the whole teams and create the fan base, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing with the MLS. Like,
It's also the part of the reason too, though, that they don't do it. They have a bad job of promoting. Is look at the league. Look at the time of the year that they play. They play as soon as the NBA is done, which is summertime, which most people are too busy. Most people are outside going to the beaches and stuff like that. They're not concerned with watching a basketball game.
well, this
The reason why I
AAU
tell
team-
you, I mean, so last year wasn't a good example because like the NBA played during like what they played in August or whatever. They played in the
Yeah.
summer when the WNBA would be playing. But what? Everyone was trapped inside, so people weren't forced to watch it because there was nothing else to do. But if you would have, if you would
even if
change
they were
that,
playing in October, I don't think it's going to bring people to watch it anyways because, like,
I think if you change it so that the
I don't think people are going to
starts
pay to
in
go to a
September,
WNBA game.
I think if you start it in like August or September and then it goes all the way to December, people will watch it.
I don't know. I think people, a little bit more people, but like my goal is to create fans, right?
Yeah,
So like you lose money by not selling the ticket seats, but you'll gain money in concession, merch, all that stuff. And like you're already selling tickets. It's not like you're gonna lose people. People aren't gonna be not going. You're making people feel more invested into the team, right? You're bringing
Yeah.
in local girls team to watch their professional team play, right? And now, like if it's a thing where you just do for local teams, when they have like daughters or children or whatever,
yeah,
they're gonna start bringing their kids to it because they grow up going to the game. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like an investment into future fans, as opposed to just trying to piggyback off the NBA success, but not having the interest,
yeah.
right?
Mm.
And like, I think it's possible. And the same thing with the MLS. Like the MLS should do that
Yeah.
with local soccer teams. Like there's so many local soccer teams, right? You just every week you give like a new soccer, like a league, like every town has their own league.
Yeah.
You give the whole team like tickets, right? And then you just fill up the stadium, right? Give them like the cheap seats that no one's gonna sit in, right? Gillette Stadium shoots like it has like 60,000 seats. They only used 16,000 during a Revolutions game. Like you're not doing anything to build the league. You're like, okay, we have this team, and you're gonna have to pay to see it, but like you gotta earn your fans. And if people aren't watching it, you got to get people to watch it.
It's also the TV deals too.
Well, no one's watching
because
it at home.
I know, but like I said, it still comes down to the promotion. Like, look at it like this: the sad truth is
the NBA
average
makes a lot of money.
NBA minimum NBA player, which is making about $2.2 million, is already making more money than like the average starter.
Okay, now
of the WNBA.
Look how much money the NBA makes.
I understand you, but I'm just saying
the NBA makes like $100 billion a year,
which is true. But when your WNBA stars are only making about $4 or $5 million.
They're losing $10 million a year because they're not getting people in. So like at the time, you need to stop comparing yourself to the successful league and start comparing yourself to other women's leagues around the world, because right now that's like imagine if the Canadian Football League was comparing itself to the NFL. right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, the best Canadian football player is making $1 million a year. The worst NFL player is making like 500,000, whatever the league minimum is, right? There's a wage discrepancy there, but I bet you the worst NFL player is miles better than the
$200,000. I think is the minimum.
yeah. But either way, the worst NFL player is probably way better than the worst Canadian football player at that position, right? And like comparing like the worst NBA player salary or whatever to the best WNBA player salary is just like the WNBA.
I'm not even saying worst. I'm saying the veterans minimum.
Yeah, the veterans minimum, whatever the minimum is, like they're not generating the revenue, right? And to me, like you're not going to get the TV deals because the stands are empty. There's no interest in
Yeah.
the team, so you need to build that from the ground up. And to me, there's no interest in the league. So the only way I can see is you bring people who potentially could be in the league to create it, you know, instead of just pouting about it, like, oh, we should be making as much as Steph Curry because I'm Lisa Leslie. I'm the best WNBA player of all time. But realistically, your league isn't making money. It's like Bill Russell wasn't making as much as the veteran minimum is now. And he's one of the GOATs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at what point do you realize it's actually the league that's holding you down and how do you expand the league instead of worrying about how much you're making?
True. I'm just saying, like for a professional sport, like there's women that are making less than you and I.
Yeah, but they're playing basketball. I would take that job instantly. If you could tell me I could make the same amount I make today and I would play basketball. I have to go to practice, I have to go to games, I have to travel
Yeah.
the country, I would do it in a heartbeat. That's literally my dream when I was
But
younger,
the problem is that like I don't know how it is for the WNBA. I think it's the same rules apply, but like NBA players don't have health insurance.
Okay. If
I
they're making as
understand that
much
they're
as you-
making
okay.
millions. Yeah, if they're making
No, but if they're making
millions
as
of
much as
dollars-
you and me are making, then they can get Commonwealth care, Obamacare. Like there's this stuff for insurance.
yeah, you're still paying out of pocket.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah, but like I'm still paying out of pocket right now, right? So why should they
I understand you, but you're paying out of pocket. Like, do you have it through your job?
Huh?
You have health insurance through your job?
Yeah, but I still pay $200 a week.
I know, but
or $200 a paycheck. If I got like the one through the government, it'd probably be like $100 a month.
No. Depending on what you're doing, no, that's not true. That's actually
but
they
anyways,
paint the
like-
picture for people to buy their health insurance incorrect. Like I just got mine and mine's $400 something, and that's so I don't have a deductible.
Really? A month?
Yeah, or something.
Yo, so mine's I think $200 a month and like $100 every paycheck. So sometimes I can be paying $300 a month and I have like
Yeah.
a $500 deductible. But either way, it's like they just expect to have this finished product and they're looking at probably the most fastest growing league in the world right now, which is the NBA, and they're
Mhm.
trying to like, we should, why aren't we this? But their league isn't growing. It's shrinking and they're
Yeah.
losing money and they're not doing it. Like they can bring people in, they can generate a buzz, you know, but it's like, no, but they have this mentality, or it seems like they have this mentality where they want a fan base. They want
Do you think
the
they
NBA
just feel content existing and they're not actually doing anything to grow? They're
No,
just
I
fine
think,
being their own
um,
league and existing.
I think they feel spiteful, and because they're spiteful, they're looking at their so-called contemporaries and seeing like how much they're making and how come they're not making that much. I'm a professional basketball player,
Yeah.
but they're not realizing like the
Yeah.
New Jersey Nets were having larger home crowds than them. The UConn women basketball team has larger crowds than a professional at the women's basketball team, right?
Yeah.
And that's because UConn's basketball team has a culture of fans, like generational fans, right?
Yep.
And it's like they're not trying. They expect that like they're going to make the league and they're just going to get fans.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like every single sports league, like the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, the NHL, they had so many teams who just failed because they couldn't get fans. And the ones who succeeded, like the Red Sox, the Bruins,
Mhm.
the Celtics, the Knicks, they generated a fan base
Yeah, and
and
that's
they
why
generate
they
interest,
move.
and then they continued, and then like the Toronto Raptors got
That's
to
why they've
piggyback off
moved
their
certain
success.
cities to
Yeah.
certain cities. That's why Seattle
And it-
lost their fan base.
Yeah, and it's like they just don't want to put the work in to get the fans. They just expect it to have them because they have a team,
Mhm.
right? And my proposal was to pretty much bring fans into the building, give them the product for free, like a drug dealer. Like a drug dealer will get you high for the first time, so you come back for extra.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. Like you give them the free sample, like Soccer Japan. They come
Yeah.
in, right? They enjoyed it. They didn't like the atmosphere. They're buying concessions. They're buying jerseys. Now, you know what? They have a Saturday off. Then there's nothing to do in town. Like, hey, that whatever. I don't even know any WNBA teams right now. The Majestics. They have weird
the
names.
New York Liberty,
The New York
Connecticut.
Liberty's playing. Let's go to a New York Liberty game, and now they go to the New York Liberty game, right? Instead of we're not going to advertise the game. We're not going to try to draw you in, and like we're going to expect to have this stuff while we're losing $10 million a season, and we're being subsidized by the NBA. But then we trash the NBA for not supporting us enough. When the
Yeah.
NBA is the only reason why the WNBA exists. I think they need to like go pretty much do the ground hustle, like, and not even the players. This is like I'm talking about like the franchise owners. Like they need to bring in the crowd.
Mhm.
Like Ricky Bobby and not Ricky Bobby, Jackie Moon and Semi Pro.
Yes.
The Flint Tropics were losing, like they're not going to make the NBA. So he was bringing in,
Sexy.
he was bringing in the crowds,
Yeah.
right? Bring in the crowds, right? Become part of the community. Like women are 50% of the populations. Women are probably at 50% of NBA games. They're probably at 50% of NFL games. Women
Yeah.
watch just as much sports as us.
Mhm.
So they would probably watch it, but you're not targeting them.
True.
When you could easily just do that and just take that loss that you're not even making anyways. Because if people aren't buying the seats anyways, then you can give them away. You could literally fill up the stands if you want. You could bust people in, like North
That's
Korea
true.
at the Olympics.
That's true because the other thing is, if in the 20 years that they've been around, 25 years they've been around, they've negatively revenued, so they haven't even made how
Yeah,
much.
they're being subsidized by the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Which $10 million is nothing to the NBA. That's a player.
No.
That's like the third of the big three, you know?
No, not even. That's a
Yeah.
bench player nowadays.
Yeah. Right.
That's a bench player. That's at the MLE, the mid-level exception. Is $9 million, $9.9 million.
Yeah, right. And like I can understand the women's frustration because like the NBA could probably cut the league like $1 billion check and not even take a loss, right?
Yeah.
You know, women would get paid more, but like, why are you getting paid more if you don't have the crowds? Like, what incentive is it for the NBA to like invest
True.
in you?
True.
And I think with advertisers, like especially like TV contracts, like TV is dead.
Yeah.
I
hear
can
that.
watch football games on my phone now.
Yeah.
The Yahoo Sports app. I can watch whoever's playing
I
in
watch
that primetime
YouTube.
market. Yeah, you can find a BitTorrent, but like, say the Dolphins are playing the Bills and the Patriots have a bye week, right? That's going to be playing in New England because it's a divisional game. So I cannot
Yeah.
watch that on my phone because it's going to be a game broadcasted here. So like, I'm not going to watch like the NBA or anything. Like, so leagues are going to start having to make money the old school way, which is filling stands, merchandising, concessions, exhibition games.
Yep.
They should do that, right? They should have the best WNBA team play the Yukon girls team and see who would win. Who do you think would win? I think the Yukon girls team, because Yukon girls team is going to be spread out through the whole league. Like that team's like incredible, right? And those stands are packed every time they have a game. And it's like the same thing with the MLS. Like when I was in Gillette Stadium today getting my shot, I was like, yo, how come the Revolution only are using 19,000 seats for a home game. Like, fill it up, dude. Like,
Yeah,
this
I
is
think they should-
Massachusetts. Like, you
they
get
should do a better job of promoting it. Like even free promotions.
you have all those upper deck seats that aren't being used.
Yeah,
Mid-level upper deck too. Like, right under where the booths are, that's all blocked off red because it's only like the bottom that has the fans, right?
true.
You could make fans, right? And to me, it just seems so simple. Like, all right, you take this loss because you're not selling the tickets, but you weren't going to sell the tickets anyways.
Yeah,
It's like if I'm driving by you, I'm going to Hudson High, you're walking to Hudson High, and I just drive by you and I don't offer you a ride because you didn't give me gas money. That's how I view it.
it's a good way to look at it. Yeah. No, I mean, submit it. Send an email to the WNBA. Maybe they'll listen.
Nah, they're not gonna listen because they have all run by like boards who are just worried about the dollar. And if they're like, if we can get the teams in here for free, then maybe they'll pay $5 for a ticket.
True. Maybe. Well, we have no viewers right now, so
That's because we were talking about the WNBA.
we haven't had a viewer in like half hour. But
The only viewer is probably your wife today.
nah, she didn't even want to watch us.
You know what it is? It's Sean stole our spotlight, dude. He has this thing right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's almost done. The election is this coming Monday.
We should make a bet that if he watches after the election, or if that was just because he had an election, he's smart enough to get to people in the community. That's a smart
No,
thing.
he's been watching it the following day. Every time we've
Well,
a lot of people that watch us have been watching it the following day. That's why they
What's
like
going
and comment it.
what's going on with the stickers?
I don't know. I got to check with Jose on it.
Yeah, like
I don't
I
know.
expected to have them by like the middle of March, or at least like paid for them by then. Because those new the ones J Bomb did look like the design looks awesome.
They look good. Yeah, not sure.
All right, I think it's time.
Yeah.
It's been 2.5 hours,
Yeah, it has.
and all this talk about
2:22.
women's basketball is making me sleepy. I'm just,
All right, man. Yeah, I'm gonna head off and go to sleep. I think.
I almost turned off my TV like it was gonna shut off on my laptop.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll check with Jose and we'll see what's up. But I guess let me know if you have anything for next weekend. Next week.
I don't know. I think I like the themes, like having themes and trying to find topics.
Yeah.
about Themes.
Same.
But I don't know. Jose always wants to talk about one thing, and it seems like whenever we're not talking about that thing, he's not on the show. He's saying that. I'm like,
All right.
You can't talk about J. Cole every day, Jose.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, hometown, we are out.
Peace out. 8 Town down.